Send it.
It's
Send it.
there.
Send it. Send it.
Send it. What
Send
am I looking at?
it. Uh-huh. It's me.
That's not. Is that you in the future? Is that going to be
It's me, homeless in the future.
you and the
It's just
homeless and Albuquerque? You're going to move out there, and all of a sudden you're just going to just. Has
every,
anybody seen my shirt? It's just.
everybody's got to have a game plan and a future plan. Mine is to be homeless. That's it.
Is that a bottle of Bailey's in his hand? What has he got?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Ah,
I'll tell you what you don't
Bruce.
got.
Just- dude, it has been a minute. Oh my god.
It's been
Um,
it's been more
been
than a
2 minutes.
minute, man. Yeah. I feel good
Ah.
though. I'm a little. Is it okay to feel a little rusty? I don't know. Like,
Yeah, I mean, normally we come
ah,
back from something like this, and I mean, I have to be honest. I mean, we never really take any time for ourselves, and quite honestly, we hate each other outside of this podcast in the real world. So it's
it's
kind of
it's go,
nice that we take some time
it's go
to.
along to get along as part of the Nissan Nerd podcast. No.
Got to take your lumps. Got to take your lumps, which is the normal work day, and then you get freedom, which is a 6 week hiatus. So,
It,
but
it
if
was definitely valuable to both of us. I think though we can
but
talk
if
about
you
that
think
later
about
though.
it, man,
But
we've been going hardcore at this for like a year
no,
and
over
a
two
half,
years, over
over
two
two
years, man.
years, and we've never taken a really vacation. So
Never
it was
this
kind of nice.
long. Yeah, this felt really good, man. I won't lie to
It
you.
felt good to be without you for a while.
Part of being together is being apart. Okay, that's
Oh,
just oh.
that's what people say before they break up. So
That's always the good excuse, right? You know,
it's not
just a test.
you.
It's a trial separation.
It's a trial separation. It's not you. It's me. You
It's not
know. I don't know. I'm sure there's plenty, but
this plenty.
we've all been brokenhearted at some point. So,
Oh yeah.
and this is
If
where
you
we
haven't,
separate
if you
ourselves.
if you haven't wanted to kill yourself, then you've never lived. How about that?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Well,
All
no,
right.
you said heartbreak, and then you always go, oh, the
It
world
just
is
we're
whatever.
partying at a 3, and you go right to an 11, and it's a little too early.
Was it
All right.
profound? I don't know.
No, it was not profound.
Damn it, that was what I was going for.
All right. Well, episode number 53. Welcome to the Nissan Nerd Podcast. We are doing it up here again for you guys. Again, from a long hiatus. We've got a lot of news to cover, and a lot of personal drama. I guess we've already kind of laid out. But yeah, it's crazy. You've gone that long, so much news, so much changes, and then everything that happens in the world compiled on top of that. But Mike,
Yeah.
tell them what they won.
All right, guys. Again, welcome to the show. On this episode, we learned that the new Z, its ECU, has already been successfully tuned. We're going to talk about that. Also, the Formula E season has just ended. However, the Nissan Formula E team continues to make big changes, and we're also going to be talking about that a little bit more. And as far as back alley chats, we talk about JDM engines, overrated, underrated. I think it's going to be a pretty good topic, honestly. So let's go ahead and
Ooh.
get into it, guys. Welcome to the show.
Man, I haven't heard that song in a hot. Oh, look at you!
What
Oh,
I
you're
do?
trying to one up me with the embarrassing backgrounds. All right,
No,
I
not at
see.
all. What are you talking about?
Uh,
Oh, you
okay.
remember this one? You know, dude, this one's actually very old. This is at least a 10-year-old picture.
Mm.
Oh, God. I knew you should have known you were already ready with these
Dude, I
things.
already got one in the chamber, baby. Every time you try to come at me, you can't just hop in the ring with Ali because you think you can box. Come on
Yeah.
now.
Oh, man, I thought I had you good. But here's the thing. Mine is not photoshopped. This is an actual photo of you. Right. Am I pointing too low? I don't know. Right there.
Oh,
That's.
no.
Hey, I tell you, man. I could. I was a sexy bitch.
All right, moving on. Yeah, that was actually a photo of me from a long time ago. I think we did like a karting challenge for the local Z
it,
clubs,
yes.
and I happened to just have a leotard for
It
whatever
was a
reason.
onesie, like an elastic onesie.
Yeah,
This was easily what 2011,
I was in my
maybe.
prime. Yeah,
You were
definitely
in
in my prime at that time. Yeah.
you were in your prime. Now this was a competition. There are bragging rights to go with it. We only do it once a year. I remember the Austin
Mm,
clubs were there, the Houston club was there,
yeah.
and so let's just say we are not the ringers of our group, so we need every advantage as we could. And I remember this day you were talking about how you needed every aerodynamic advantage possible, which was the reason for this leotard over here, this
Shaved it all down.
onesie.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yep.
it showed everything, every
Yeah.
crease, every cranny.
Yep. My moose knuckle was most glorious at this time. So yes.
you. I remember this is one of my, honestly at this point I had only known you for like 2 years or less than 2 years at that point,
Yeah.
and it's your turn to race the carts, and you decide to do stretching exercises next, like really close to the cart in front of you, just
Yeah.
bending over, stretching, and these guys are like, please get yourself away from me, something like.
Yeah. Well, you have to set a mood when you're entering the track, and sometimes it's one of dominance. And you can choose to pee on the other person's car to establish dominance. You can show them a little fruit bowl, if you will, with a bend over. And then I chose the fruit bowl road. And, you know, that methodology plus the speed suit plus my normal natural skills of being
Mhm.
awesome, I
Yeah.
think I actually won that race. Yeah,
I think
believe
you
it or
won
not.
because everybody was on the side of the track throwing up after you passed them. You're just.
Wins a win, baby. Wins a win. Ow!
um, that's funny. Actually, and you're right. Nobody has since then tried to duplicate your get up there, your outfit.
I don't even think I
Uh,
fit in that thing anymore. Yeah. So
yeah.
sadly enough, yeah. But I look good
Yeah.
though. I made it look good. It's classic.
I tried to
Oh
get you, man. I actually tried to sneak this one on you, and I should have known. You also had one in the chamber, though, man. So,
baby, come on now. I got it
touche,
all over.
touche.
Touche. Well, so we've got a lot to cover. Like I said, we've been out for 6 weeks. Thanks again for everybody for being patient with us as we come back from the long hiatus summer break. Quite honestly, we needed it.
Yeah.
So thank you again
You
for everything.
now, I know in the beginning of the break that we took, you did some traveling. You
I was out and
went out
about.
went out to the mountains of New Mexico out there and did some moving and
Yeah, I
uh,
went that. I went through Colorado for a while. I basically had to move some. I'll call it 30% of my garage out to New Mexico to my storage building that was out there. So I still got more work to do
yeah.
with getting moved. I'm going to do it in phases. But I ended up buying a freaking another Datsun 620.
How many do you have now? How many 620s?
Four.
Four. Okay,
Four.
so I know
Four and a trailer.
there's
That's also a Datsun
the
620. So
four and a half. That's the
4.5.
bed. That's going to be a nice look, honestly, once you get that done
4.5.
for
Yeah.
sure. Because you have one that's going to be the keeper. Now there's
I'm
one that's a little
addicted.
bit. That's the one that's the full blown mod. Eventually you have
Yeah.
one that you have like a daily, and two of them are kind of like parts cars right now, and
One
or
was a parts, and then yeah, and then one is just it was so cheap that I bought it, and here I am living in the dream. Too many cars. And then yeah, so here we are. And then I also am getting another Z32 um, for payments of services.
yeah. Don't even tell me
So
what services you did for a Z32.
it was work.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I'm
Now it
sure it
was
was.
some fine tuning and some, but we were able to trade out for work for a vehicle. So
Okay.
yeah, so here we are. Moving on. Yeah, I was able to make just a quick pass. I just went up through Colorado, went to like a lot of the agricultural area
Mm.
that's just north of New Mexico. So I probably went up there and I bought the Datsun, and then I don't even remember what towns I kind of went through, but it was like it was real small. Like you wouldn't think that Colorado was like that, but the agricultural area right there is like really really strong.
Oh wow.
And yeah, it was just nothing. out there. It's just sadness. And I
Whew.
was like, I just went in and it just broken dreams of
Nothing but
Colorado.
sadness and affordable Datsuns. Is that what you're
Yeah, I
saying?
went through a little place called the San Antonio. They call, I guess it's a mountain, but San Antonio Mountain. It's this long stretch of road. It's
Oh,
beautiful right there. And then, yeah, I don't know. It was God. It was like 6 hours one direction, six and a half on the way back. So, but anyway, yeah, I did a lot of driving. A lot of there's other stories and adventures that came with that, but
yeah.
I'm gonna leave it at that. I did the deal and I had a good time. But thank you for asking. I appreciate that. What was your what did you do in your 6 weeks? Anything eventful?
Um, honestly, I stayed in town. I did a lot at home, like a lot of I, as I've shared in the past, recently bought a house. I'm actually, what is it, almost 9 months in now, but there's a lot to it. I mean, you can't just move in. There's always some sort of
Nope.
project, especially in the
Something
first
always
year.
bites you.
Oh
Something
yeah.
always. You don't have enough. You don't have enough candles. You never. You don't have that hang in there, kitty
Yeah,
photo.
hanging the
Y-
photo. Yeah.
Yeah,
Co-
it's the success.
oh man, that's what I've been doing. It's just been a series of myself, and I've actually gotten some help as well, doing a bunch of work around the house. Though honestly, getting the would you call it nesting? That's probably an easy
That's
word of
weird.
saying.
That's weird that you're
Just
saying nesting and you live by
really,
yourself. But
maybe
self
not like
nesting,
that.
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know. Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just trying to get everything ready. I want to be able to walk into a room and be like, "Yeah, this looks nice. That was meant to be there." This is make. I'm personalizing the house. How about that? Just making it to where I feel very especially the garage. I did a air reel, the retractable air reel now, and
ooh,
I've got a new workbench with some lights and stuff. So
king
um,
of the castle, king of the castle.
I'm
All
doing that,
right.
and then I'm developing the green thumb with the grass. I'm trying to get this grass to
Yeah.
look green again. So that's
Well, grass just
yeah.
likes water, so let me know how that works out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And summer is you would say the secret ingredient is water.
The secret ingredient is water. Yeah. All right.
I'm trying
Uh,
to get it jump started again, man, because this first half of the summer I wasn't paying
all
too
right.
much attention, but I'm
Well,
learning. I'm
nobody
learning. First
nobody
year as a
gives a
homeowner.
damn on this show about your grass.
That is true.
We'll start another podcast about that in the future and see how well that goes.
Yes, yes, yes.
But let's go ahead and move on. We got to do some crowd work.
Yeah, we
Let's see
got
here.
tons of comments up
Yeah, we
top
got
here. Go
quite a
ahead
few
and
people.
do a few call outs, man. Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Thanks to Ion, Jamie, Brad for joining us. Brad, as always, thank you for
From
making the
Australia.
time from
Yeah,
Australia.
yeah.
It's probably like
Thanks, buddy.
2 in the morning where he's at. David Rocha, Curtis, Lee, Davey joining us tonight, and then of course Mr. Sean Buck commenting on your chest
Nah.
cavities.
Yeah.
And
The picture behind you. Yeah, uh-huh.
oh yeah, well, I mean, come on, who doesn't love those things? But moving on.
Yes, yes, yes. Thanks for being
Yeah,
here, guys.
I'll do a little salute out to everybody, to those in the Nissan family who we wish good health, and to those that we may have lost. May we be reminded of them often. So a little
All right, guys.
kampai.
If you're there with us, just join us. Kanpai, guys. Clink.
Mm. Oh, so good when it hits the lips. All right. So we're going to go straight into news. Mike, I'm going to go ahead and just take the lead on this one.
Sure.
So this one actually just came up while you and I were kind of planning and doing the layout for this episode, and it
Yep.
was actually some news about a car that had kind of been off the radar for a while. This was actually Mr. Tom Cruise, his ex vehicle from back in the old SCCCA days when he was cutting his teeth,
Yeah.
actually made its way out. So this was the Planters 300ZX that was actually put together with the help of Paul Newman, Bob Sharp, and Pepe Pombo. If you go back and listen to our Pepe Pombo article from
Yes.
episode from way back then, we actually talk a lot about Tom Cruise when he first started getting into racing in the SCCA. He actually stayed with Pepe Pombo for a short time
Yeah.
while him and Nicole Kidman while they while he started getting some time out at Road Atlanta, I think it was at that time.
Had to have been, yeah.
And Pepe was known for the longest time as the king of showroom stock. And for those that don't know, he's pretty much a Z31 SCCA legend. So Pepe was pretty instrumental in kind of getting Tom Cruise off of on his feet as far as a racing career at that time. And
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure he was instrumental in setting up this car. So this car actually just recently came up again, a 1984 300ZX with obviously the Planters livery on it from
Hmm.
that time period. Came about. So this vehicle was actually completely redone as far as a restoration. Still carries the power plant of the 3.0 V6
I'm waiting
from
for
it.
that engine. I'm waiting for that engine
Yeah,
shot. There it is. Yep.
yeah, with a little help of from Jim Wolf Technologies, awesome vendor for Nissan performance for the longest time period. So they were actually assisting with a lot of the internals. I think some of the camshafts. We've got MSA headers, throttle bodies, HKS exhaust. So a
Mhm.
lot of this is redone. I don't know about these seats in there, but needless to say, it's still a really cool car that went through a heck of a restoration. So
Mhm.
for somebody out there who's going to be restoring or buying this vehicle and either keeping it or getting it back to its original condition, it's a heck of a buy. This is on Bring a Trailer right now. Current bid is at 6,700, but still 6 days to go. I foresee this going pretty damn high, quite honestly.
I think so. I mean, I think,
Or
and of
Tom
course,
Cruise buying his damn
that,
car back. I don't know.
that's the big sell, right? I was actually thinking about that too. How cool would it be if Tom Cruise actually put a bid, or well, one of his, someone from his team, put in a bid, or ultimately won this car, for his memorabilia. You see the license plate on this thing as well. By the way, it says T
What?
Cruise.
Oh, look at that! It's already
Yeah,
ready
yeah.
for him.
It's ready. It's got his name on it already. Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you right now, if you're interested in buying this car and you're going against another bidder and you see Scientology lover, you're probably going to lose. I'm just going to tell you right now, just fold it up
Oh.
and forget about it. But yeah, again, an amazing car. Vehicle's located out of New Hampshire. So again, if you are the lucky winner of on this thing, call us. Let us know that you won it because we want to know all about it.
What
So
Yeah. What other funny Tom Cruise screen names can you think of? I'm trying to think of like
mm,
I don't know, something to do
oh,
with Top Gun. Like it'll be like I don't know, like again, it'd be some childish thing like a Maverick 620 or something like that, or yeah. You said, dude, you got me with the Scientology. That was actually really good. That's clever, man.
this
That's
came
I
from
was
my
thinking
little
about that
brain
one.
up here. Yep. So, but no, the license plate. Yeah, I was gonna say the license plate is pretty cool. I would
Yeah.
have gone with something a little more subtle, but yeah, when you're trying to sell it, I mean that makes complete sense. I remember, of course, Pepe and Bob Sharp. We've had conversations with them. Unfortunately, we've still been unable to actually technology wise get Mr. Bob Sharp on, but we've had plenty of conversations and talking to him about that. But he
Yeah.
said, the thing with Tom Cruise is just, well, I'm not going to bat. Well, you know what? We're never going to have Tom Cruise on the show, so I'm going to go ahead and just say what I'm going to say. But I remember we were talking to Bob Sharp and a few other people that were around that time period kind of confirmed that he just wasn't taking instruction very well at that time, and he just didn't feel that um, it was the right sport for him at that time. So that it looked like it ended his career fairly early because it was at that time there was a lot of competition and a lot of amazing drivers at SCCA. I think that was showroom stock
Hmm.
was is that I think is what they were competing at the time.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean the competition was extremely heavy at that, especially if you're going against guys like Pepe Pombo who are just kings of the sport.
Yeah,
So,
I remember there was that documentary with Paul Newman winning.
hmm,
His documentary that came out, was it let's say 5 6
yeah,
years
it's been
ago.
about 5 6 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Now there was a part of that documentary that talks about the Tom Cruise and his experiences, at least what their impressions of his experience was, and they were talking about how 1986. Top Gun had just come out. Tom Cruise is this up and coming,
They were doing this whole
just
Days of Thunder
amazing.
prep.
Yep,
Yeah, yeah.
Days of Thunder preparation in a Datsun, you could say. And now, with the challenges that Tom was probably experiencing, obviously not
Yeah,
winning right away.
because they
When
also
you're,
did Color of Money together, and
yeah,
that's what he was like. Hey, I'm into. Paul Newman's like, hey, I'm really into racing. Like that's more of what I'm doing than acting these days.
yeah.
And then Tom's like, I can drive. And then
Well, that,
and
that that
so
that was the psych. That's exactly how Tom sounds, by the way. He sounds exactly
yeah,
like
yeah,
that. It's,
yeah.
now there was, the, I think the psyche, especially being an A-list actor, or
Yeah,
at least at
at
the
that
time,
time. Yeah.
he's always the main character. The main character always wins. This winning at the end of the lesson, he's always on top. Now you compare that with what racing actually is. Never always winning every race. And I mean, I'm not saying he.
Well, let's also say this too. I mean, if you know that you got Tom Cruise on the racetrack and you've been racing for, you know, 8, 10, 15, 20
Yeah,
years in this, in any given level, and then you got Tom Cruise coming on as a rookie, you're probably
yeah.
going to rattle his chain a little bit, right?
And that's how a lot of people saw him. They saw him as a Hollywood type, and they were gonna, maybe razz him, like haze him in some ways too, even on the track. They kind of
Yeah.
had that attitude towards him.
Yeah, well, Paul, he talked about that too as well. Like early on, everybody was kind of doing the same thing. They were just giving him a lot of heck, and he was pushing it beyond what he needed to, and he wasn't driving smart or cautious. And then he sharpened his skills. He started listening and everything
Yeah,
else. And if you listen to like old interviews with him and Fitzgerald, and they're really kind of talking about that. And he said, yeah, you just have to kind of become humble and then keep striving for getting better and better. And for whatever reason, it didn't pan out, or maybe the career kind of took off in a different direction. It's hard to say. I mean, I'm not going to check
yeah.
timeline on that stuff. Orlando Nunez commented. He said Tom did good late in his career driving Formula One. Mm.
I, I don't remember him being part of a team, but I know. I mean, even to this day, whenever there is a particular U.S. Grand Prix or British Grand Prix, the camera always shoots over to Tom. He's typically there at least at one race every year at the
Yeah.
bare
No,
minimum. So I do know he's very, if
I know
not a
his motor.
fan, yeah,
I know his
I'm sure he gets.
motorcycle correction is collection is like out of control. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
I mean, I'm sure he's got some special privileges as being as high ranking
yeah.
of a movie star that he is. Now,
Moving. Oh, go
yeah.
ahead. Sorry. What do you
What
got?
I would like to do next episode, let's recap. Let's find out how much this thing sold for. I'm gonna make a
Oh,
note for us, and we'll check it out.
yeah. Toss those seats. Jesus Christ, those seats are big. 3A racing, those gotta go, son. Gotta go. Anyway, but yeah, kudos to anybody that wins this, or the Scientology University. I mean, yeah, if you guys get that and want to add that to the, I don't know, the stable of Scientology vehicles. I mean, kudos to you guys out there. So, yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I think it's gonna be if somebody within the community grabs it, I think it's gonna be pretty slick. So, yeah.
Cool. Cool. All right, man.
All right, next news, go.
I've
Yeah.
got the next one. Yes, yes. So I want to go ahead and talk about something here, guys. We've got three articles, three Nissan and/or Infiniti models that are actually being discontinued for 2023, and I'm going to go ahead and try call them out here individually, just very briefly. I think it's
Doom
worth
and
you
doom and
guys
gloom.
knowing this. I know, right? As reported from Jalopnik, reported by Car and Driver, the Q60 is looking to be ending production in 2023. The Q60 debuted in 2015 as a successor to the G37 Coupe. They're saying that the Infiniti brand is pivoting to its luxury crossovers, SUVs, and EV vehicles.
Boo.
Now, sales have been in a steady decline for the Q60. Unfortunately, I think it's a beautiful car
I
still.
think
I
it's an
mean,
amazing ride. I mean, for what you get, but
yeah, up until this year, it's been the only car with or the Q50 as well, but the Q60 and Q50 have been the only cars with the VR30 twin turbo engine too, which I think is a perk. It would be another reason to get one of these cars though. But they're saying 2023, the Infiniti Q60 will end. Now, I do wonder whether it's good timing. I'm sure this is some sort of thought between the ending of this model and the beginning of the new Z because
what's funny
yeah.
is this time period is exactly when the late '90s kicked in. It feels a lot like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and I'll throw this out there, right?
Yeah.
So in the late
Hear me out.
'90s, the Japanese supercars basically kind of halted production into the U.S. because the SUV market was coming out so strong. You've got like the Ford Escape, Ford Expeditions, all that. The Chevy Suburbans; those were getting really, really hot, and the sales numbers were just kind of following them. So what did it do? It killed the Japanese supercar market. Within a number of years, everything started falling off. So I think what's starting to happen is the high performance luxury cars are kind of going that same route too, because I feel like it's this next generation of just, I don't know, SUV vehicles to me that all look the damn same. But
Yeah.
here I am, I don't
Well,
know, it just feels like that. And then of course we've got a huge gas price issue that's come up as of late. So people are kind of chasing the EV SUVs now. And I'm like, I don't know. It feels a lot like that right now. I
the
don't
EV
know.
wave's coming. I get that. I think that the trucks, performance trucks, overlanding trucks, SUVs, man, especially in the
There's a
U.S.
lot of competition right now with different things that are grabbing people's attention or
Yeah.
maybe fit into their lifestyle. Also everybody is like, with inflation and everything, maybe people are just broke and they're just like, well, hell, we got to have one vehicle that does it all.
That's what I think the crossover or a four door crew cab, like a super crew. You get the four
Yeah.
doors and a truck bed. That was meant to be the all in one vehicle. That was where the savings or
Yeah.
some of the usefulness was.
Thank you, El
Um,
Camino.
yeah,
Or
dude, they got
what was it?
four
The
door.
Brat? Oh, the Brat.
Oh,
Remember that?
Subaru
Yeah.
Brat. And that's Wednesdays, part of the Subaru NerdCon podcast.
The Subaru nerd
Uh,
podcast. Yeah. All right.
but no, you're
Moving
right.
on.
There is
So
a trend, and I also think that especially in the '90s, the prices were getting very very high for Japanese sports cars too.
Ion
But yeah,
goes, I mean, zombie apocalypse and all. Yeah, it makes complete sense. So,
so, that's true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's always that mentality these days too,
thank you
isn't
to
it? Yeah.
Orlando. He sent me the Tom Cruise Formula One test drive training. Yeah, we'll see if we can
Oh,
fit that in the background towards the end when
that too. We'll also throw it on the Facebook page as
we'll
well.
throw it on
Maybe
the
in
Facebook
on
page.
the page. Yeah, yeah.
And then
Uh,
yeah, all right. So you said this is Article One. You got
yes, the
two
first
more
of three.
you got two more doom and glooms. Give me the next one.
Yes, yes. Next one is the Nissan Rogue Sports,
Uh,
being they call reported dead in 2023. This comes
Jesus
from
Christ! It was the only cool
Jalopnik.
thing that it was the only cool Rogue ever made.
Well, that's the thing, and pardon my ignorance up until reading this article, I didn't know that the Rogue and Rogue Sport were different.
Yeah,
Rogue Sport is a smaller version of the Rogue. It was actually the smallest, second
yeah,
smallest crossover that Nissan has had.
correct.
Now, there's not much sporty about it. And it's
Yeah,
141 horsepower. I like the size. I mean, I'm always down for smaller vehicles. That's my personal preference.
yeah.
But saying here, yeah, it is discontinued here in 2023. I think.
Boo. Well,
Uh,
it made sense. Stuff like this, these specialty models or anything that was tried and then it just didn't work out. It from sometimes they're just not going to work out like that, and that's to be expected. So I get it, but
right, right, right. Uh, Sales, and then of course they're looking at it kind of competes with itself. The Nissan Kicks is very similar to this. That's kind of the
go.
similar life of the Juke. You know what I mean?
And
So.
it said, I think I read the article and it said it wasn't very, now, even though it went away, it wasn't
Yeah.
like those, please, please, please bring it back. It was kind of like pistol whipping a blind kid. It was pretty non-favorable. It was like, what did they say? It was like, the engine's gutless. And then of course it still has CVT in it. So it was just like,
Yes.
it's like
Oh, that's a
good. It was like a good riddance. And I was like,
kick
well,
them while they're down
yeah,
already.
I'm
Yeah,
telling you,
yeah.
I'm
Nobody
telling
likes.
you.
Not very many people like
So
CVT. I
bad
mean,
news,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
we get it. We understand. All right.
One
Hit me with
more.
number three. It better
This one
not be
took me by
bad.
surprise, but let's go ahead and talk about it.
All right.
The 2023 Maxima discontinued. Will
Holy
cease
crap.
production mid 2023. Yeah,
I didn't see
yeah,
that coming. Wow. The
yeah.
Maxima, but that, oh man. Well, it's Ultima now, right? It's the Ultima world that we live in now.
Well, they said a lot of good things about a lot of similarities with Ultima. They were saying here that the Ultima has similar space, which Ultima is the midsize. So you started with the Sentra, that's or even smaller than that. You had the Versa, then you move
Mhm.
up to the Sentra, then you've got Ultima, and then Maxima. And there was a mention
But it
here.
does make
Yeah.
sense. It's kind of like it's kind of like three vehicles that are all fighting for the same space.
Yes.
So, and I've
Yes.
always kind of thought that I'm like, what is an Ultima? Is that a Maxima? Is it a Multima?
You
Is
see,
that
you know,
Ultimax? You know what I mean? Like just, but it's true. Or is it an Infinity? Like because Infinity kind of copied that that
yeah.
platform for the longest time.
What
So
gets me about this is that the Maxima is probably one of the most longest running Nissan models out there. Dates back to 1980. So this was,
yeah,
I want to say,
yeah.
a very heavy decision to
I've
make.
always liked the Maxima. They're always up there. So and then
Yeah.
for I mean I don't know. Even the Sentra kind of you could almost talk about it in the same sentence. Like
Yeah.
you can almost have the Ultima and the Maxima in the same pool, and then the Sentra's like, "Can I come in now? You shut up and stay out there until we're done." Like, but it was kind of like if you look in the '90s, almost all the bodies were kind of rounded the same style. Like the
yeah.
Sentra was more of like you just chopped off the last six
Oh.
inches of the butt of that car, and then
Yeah.
in the late '90s, but it was then you took the Maxima and it looked like you gave the 6 inches back to the butt. You know what I mean? Like it was like they were stuff in the back of their pants to get a booty, and it was just but then the Ultima came in a little bit later, but yeah, I could see the Maxima kind of going away because the sales numbers probably have been
they
everybody's
have been
chasing the Ultima because it's the name,
well.
I guess, after a
I'll,
while.
I'll
So
give you an example. You bring up a good point. For 2021 sales numbers alone, the Maxima only sold 16,000 units, whereas the Ultima 103,000 units. So that's a
yeah,
huge difference between. And then I can't find the exact part, but they did mention about the amount of space. And we even said that. I think when we had that rental car, that Ultima, there was a very good, even the rental car guy was saying that you get more space or even comparable amount of space
Max.
with
We
the
had the
Ultima.
we
Yeah,
had the Ultima, the
Multima.
Max.
Yeah,
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 the
yeah, yeah.
Multima, because we thought it was an Ultima at first, and we're like, oh, we got that Ultima. Oh, we got a Max. All right, okay, cool.
Now, one last thing, you did mention it too. How you said it seems like sometimes these cars are kind of morphing into sort of the same car, same size,
Yeah,
same footprint, same silhouette. Not only is that happening, but you got to understand too that uh, uh, and this is a big reason for all three of these discontinuations that we're talking about. Is that not only do you have that situation playing out, but also you got to understand Nissan. We've been talking about it for so long. The Ambition 2030 plan, where they are electrifying. What do they say here? Launching 23 electrified
yeah.
models across Nissan and Infiniti brands by 2030. 15 vehicles are electric. 40%. They want 40% of their sales to be EVs by the end of the decade. So those are obviously we've talked about these goals. Well, what do you think is going to happen? They can't just have all these old,
Well,
might
the
say
other thing too
legacy
is, and when
models.
the new badging changed and all the new models were silhouetted out there, we didn't know quite what they were going to be. If it was going to be the Frontier and all that was coming up in the new line. But remember, you and I said
Remember?
that's not a lot of vehicles for a brand to carry. So it was like a lot of people were going home sad, as
Yeah.
far as the model discontinuation. And it's
Hmm.
true. And if you think about it, when you take the Ultima and the Maxim and you put them next to each other and you really can't tell the difference between it anymore, I get it. When the
Yeah.
Sentra it looks a lot like the Maxima, which it does, reality, if you've ever looked at them, they're kind of all sharing the same body lines and the same designs type. So
Yeah.
Ultima Maxima, they got to go. So one of them is going to go. Naturally, it makes sense for the Maxima. I hate to say it.
I'm going to go
Um,
one. Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to go one further, Miles. I had this conversation with a buddy of mine. He is a paint and body, just wonderful. He's actually a specialist for Nissan Infiniti body work, and he says another reason why these cars are starting to look the same. Not only is it like some sort of body language or signature that the Nissan designers are trying to make up or
I'm gonna say it's.
create.
I'm gonna say he's gonna say
It's
paneling.
no, well,
It's all
no,
the same
it's
parts.
no, no. Well, maybe that's another one too. But I think the point that he was trying to make was there are safety standards. There are way more safety standards into a
Yeah.
vehicle that a car has to maintain than there were, decades before. The
Yeah.
headlights got to be a certain height off the ground. Uh, you know, similar. essentially, a lot of these cars are being
S-
regulated to
sc-
having to look the
Regulated,
same.
scrutinized to be, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah,
All that
it limits the
translates into
creativity.
dollars. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
it also translates into dollars. Like, we only have so much money, we're only selling so much, and and then the last few years haven't been the best. I mean, things are looking up, and we're always pro Nissan here, but we get it. We understand
yeah,
that a
yeah.
change needed to had this for the survivability of the company, so it makes complete sense.
Now, I will
So,
give you some a silver lining on this
mm,
gloomy cloud, Miles, like you said earlier,
uh,
doom and gloom. They haven't provided much detail on the future of EV plans, although the automaker has confirmed plans to build a pair of EVs at its plant in Mississippi starting in 2025.
okay,
One will be for Nissan, one will be for Infiniti. So there are models of EV being I'm sure the R&D
in
and
production and
manufacturer
everything right now,
trials, a lot of these trials are probably happening as we speak.
that makes
So
sense.
I would definitely have a look out for some news to replace these models. Yeah,
Jamie, okay, let's go to do some. We got a lot of comments on this one.
good. Yeah, what do you
So
got?
Jamie said, "What?" I think because she's also she's a Maxima owner, so she's a little destroyed right now. Orlando Nunez, Altima is a big car. See here. Let's see here. Altima and Maxima have always been competed in the same space. I think it was Justin talking what he's trying to say.
JLE.
But
Yeah.
JLE, yeah, and he makes he I agree. I couldn't agree more. So
Hmm.
even the new Sentra is a lot bigger compared to the old ones. Orlando Nunez, yeah, makes complete sense. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Let me see. Jamie said people have called my Maxima an Altima, and I may have almost throat punched them. Yeah, yeah, I could see that. Let me see here. Orlando, the king of trunk space, also says huge trunk on the Altima. Just
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, the king of knowledgeable trunk space. That's Orlando's new gig. So yeah,
Gotcha.
very very cool. Well, I wouldn't say very cool, but yeah, things. It was a natural evolution of these things to happen. So
Yes. Yes.
a
Yes.
little
Yes.
doom and gloom. Let's try to keep it positive and move on to the next thing.
um.
Jeez.
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Maybe I can try to. Maybe I can try to
I think if you
twist
smile
this.
while you say bad
Yeah, yeah,
news,
yeah. I'm gonna try to give you bad news in a good way. Let's. You think I can try this?
let's try it. Yeah, let's
Let's
try
try
it.
it. Let's see what happens here. Okay, Miles. Let's talk about something really, really exciting. You're gonna love this.
Oh, can't wait.
Recalls. Recalls are my
I love
favorite thing in the
recalls.
world. If there's anything
Oh
I love in
yeah.
the world, it's recalls. They're so cool. They're trying to keep you safe, bro. Can
Mm,
can you fault
yeah.
anybody for trying to keep you safe? Safe is a good thing. That's a positive thing, right?
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
totally.
This is
Love
this is this
recalls.
is this is going horribly so far.
Mm,
All right, first one.
yeah, you're not good at this at all. All right, moving on.
The Rogue Hybrids. Oh man, we love those. We can talk about here recalls. Now there is a brake booster defect. We all love to stop, Miles. There are 6,000
Mm,
hybrid Rogues that they're having some defects with the brake boosters. They're saying that overheating can cause overheating and repeated use in hot conditions, similar to stop and go traffic, can
how dare
cause
they?
failure of the brake booster. It's a pretty big
Well, there's ways to work around this. You only drive your Nissan Rogue hybrids in cold areas. So,
northern
if you
states. You're
if you
good.
truly love your car, get out of that hot state. You know what I mean? Make it up to Canada. You know what I mean? Get up there in the mountains. But yeah, that's what your problem is. Don't worry. But yeah,
Yeah.
if you do live in the I don't know, the Death Valley, and you drive your Rogue hybrid, guess what? The recall's been out, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
That is the first time. Of course, we do these guys as PSAs. I almost feel like it's part of our duty
it is
in
part
the
of our
Nissan
duty.
world
Yeah. So
to
if
share
you're
with
listening
you
to this
guys.
now and you're rolling your eyes, shut up. We're saving lives.
Yeah,
Moving
we're
on.
saving lives, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
tell your friends, they tell two friends, and
They
they
tell
tell
two
two more
friends, and
friends,
then yeah, then it's
so
an
on and so
STD for
forth.
everybody. Moving on. Just that's what that commercial was, right? It was an STD commercial.
I want to say it had to do with like gossip in general, but I mean,
Was it
hey,
gossip or STD?
I don't
You
know.
say gossip, I say STDs. Both are lethal. Moving on.
They're
What's the
very same.
next?
They're very close. Yes, they
They're
are.
identical. Same thing. Next
All right.
recall. Moving
Next
on.
one. Nissan issues a recall for replacement Takata airbags in older Nissan and Infiniti models. These are not new vehicles. These are some that are much older. I'll give you some examples here. These are the 2001 to 2003 Maxima, the '02 to '06 Sentra, '07 to '12 Versa, '02 to '03 Infiniti QX4, that's the SUV,
Hmm.
and the 2006 to 2010 Infiniti M35 and
I was gonna say that's a
M45.
35 and 45 right there in front of us.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, yes, yes. The last one there. Now, this is what makes this recall more. It's trickier than most other ones. This one actually has to do with replacement parts. So if you have had any of these vehicles, again, Maxima, Sentra, Versa, Infiniti, that you have had replacement airbags installed into your vehicle between December 9th of 16 and November 12th of 2021. So it's about a 5-year window. If you've had any bodywork or replacement airbags to these vehicles within those years, you could potentially have a bad airbag. Um, it could be deadly.
take
Not
it
having
in.
it.
Take it
Yes,
in.
yes.
Also, they'll usually check it by VIN numbers. So if you call them, they'll say, "What's your car? Blah blah. What's your VIN number? All right,
Well,
make your way in there," and they assign you and schedule you up.
Well,
So
that's the tricky part too, is that because now you're dealing with collision centers. Not all collisions are done through dealerships.
mhm.
So the airbags that came out of the factory potentially good. They were in good shape. It's the replacement ones. Should let's say you got into a
From
head-on or
Takata
whatever. I mean,
themselves.
to cut.
Wow. Okay, I see
Yes,
what
these
you
are
mean.
replacement. Yeah, and
Oh
so
well, I
that's what
retract what
makes
I
it
previously
harder.
said. Don't call the dealerships. Leave them alone. No, I'm just joking.
A little bit harder to track, but if you are the owner of any of these vehicles, and again, we'll be leaving these in the show notes. Click on the link and take a look. You could
Yeah,
apply. Now the number they're saying this could affect up to 18,000 vehicles. How about that?
yeah.
That is a pretty strong number still. So yes, yes, yes. That was the uh, recall on that one. I got one more recall, Miles.
Please, please,
Is it
please
one more?
keep bringing this darkness over
I,
the NNP
yeah.
episode today. Drop it. Let's go. What you got? I can get through it. I can take anything you can dish out.
Yeah.
Do it. Hit me with another recall.
Let's
Go.
talk let's talk automatic transmissions here for a second here. We're
Oh, my
talking about the
favorite.
new
Mm.
Jatco 9-speed transmission that's being used. Not only now we talked about this in yeah. We all know the Jatco 9-speed transmission, don't we, Miles?
I got one right here. Actually, it's
Yeah.
just sitting right there next to me. Go on.
This is the new automatic transmission that is used in the new Frontiers, the new Titans, and coincidentally, the
Don't tell me
new
that.
Z uses this variation, variation of the same transmission, this 9-speed Jatco transmission. Uh, we talked about this in the last podcast. There is an issue with the parking, the park feature of this thing, and I do have one
It
picture
won't go in
here.
a park.
It goes into park, but they're saying actually, can I finish, Miles? Can I
Oh,
finish?
sorry. My apologies. I was just I thought we were just talking. Moving
No, no,
on.
I hear, I hear. It says here the car manufacturer has revealed that reduced clearances could lead to contact between the edges of the parking pole and the boss of the transmission. This is triggered by dimensional variation in the manufacturing process, could
Uh-huh.
result in the parking brake not properly engaging when the vehicle is shifted into park, rele- increasing the risk of a rollaway. And Miles, just because I care for you so much, that is what a parking pole looks like. It's a component inside the transmission. You know, when you put the car in park and say you're on a hill and you always feel that car transmission go forward a little bit, that chunk as you're
Mm-hmm.
hitting something, that little thing that's stopping the car. That's
Yeah.
what this is. It's that
Yeah.
tooth that locks the gear into place. And
And
they're saying that there's dimensional variation that's causing this to not always be effective.
yeah, that makes sense. Invented by Paul Babadakis um,
Please go on. Yeah.
in 1986. Don't bother looking it up because it's completely 100% true.
True. Yeah.
But obviously, Paul Babadakis screwed us on this one. So it was a crap design. Yeah, if you do
Yeah.
have that, what do people need to do about this recall?
Now there are for the Frontier and Titan guys, a recall should have already been mailed to you with this situation. Now, this is actually affecting the sales of the brand new Z. These Zs have just come out within the last 2 weeks into dealerships, and the automatic versions of these new Zs are currently at a stop sale. So, in many cases, they're not even gonna let you drive this thing off the parking lot, the dealer
Ooh,
lot yet. which is I'm sure it's going to upset a lot of people
Yeah, send all
in
your hate
listening.
mail to Paul Papadakis at 555 Dingus Avenue.
Yeah. Now,
Just Smyrna, Tennessee. All
Smyrna,
right,
Tennessee.
God
Now,
damn it. All right.
they did say here, though, that of course they advise you anybody who has this version of transmission in their Frontier, Titan, or new automatic transmission Z, use the emergency brake. That's what it's for. It will prevent. If this happens to you, the emergency brake will save you. Another good way to prevent this, Miles,
Ah.
is buy a standard transmission.
All right, so let's go back here. We got some crowd work to do.
Let's go for it.
All right, and Randall Thompson says, "Welcome to the Debbie Downer podcast." Yeah,
I
well,
know.
we're gonna try to make it positive from here. We actually got some good news to talk about.
We're trying, man. I mean, we're just
So,
trying to report what we have, and it's just unfortunate. I don't know. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ion said, "Yeah, that was it. I want to say Toyota was involved too later, but maybe I'm misremembering. He's probably talking about the Takata seatbelt
Mm,
recall that was done so bad. And for those that don't know, there's actually a Takata plant, Mike, actually just next to
yeah.
SeaWorld, if you didn't know.
Here in San
So
Antonio,
in San
yes.
Antonio, Tejas. So yeah, if you ever want to
Guy
make
had
it out
greasy
there,
fingers, man. I ate some tacos before and greasy fingers and messed things up. Sorry.
moving
Yeah,
along.
yeah, 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 yeah.
All right. Ion said, "What's a standard transmission?" Moving on. We've got quite a bit to cover. So thank you for all the recalls, keeping us safe, Mike. We love you, and
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna move on. So
This.
the next thing that we need to go over here is actually we've got a little bit more news. You have more news that you want to talk about, actually,
I am
or
the. Yeah.
you
What do you think?
you had one. Yeah, nah. You know what? Let's kill it.
Okay.
I would say let's kill that. No more doom and gloom. We're only going to stay with positivity.
Let's go for it.
Um, but so I did want to talk about this next article. So, and I'll just take it, Mike,
Go
and
for it.
give you a
Go
bit of a
for it.
break. So, AMS Performance, for those that don't know, they've been around for quite a while on Facebook. And Mike, I'll let you bring up the photos from
Sure,
it.
sure.
So AMS actually just got their hands on one of the brand new Z's, and they're, we'll just say, first to tune the new Z and tune it successfully. So the new Z actually just boasted these numbers out the last day or so. With obviously with the small amount of mod list that you see here with the rear exhaust. And for those that don't know, it's not necessarily an Achilles heel, but we talked about this on the last, oh God, it was about 3 episodes ago, where we said what are going to be the things that are hindrances for the new Z as far as performance. And the
VR30.
stock
Yep.
and the stock exhaust was one of those because Nissan's not putting performance exhaust on these cars for because people, it's one of the main things that people modify in their
They
cars when
know
they
it.
first get them. So they're like, why are we going to spend all this money and giving you good exhaust again? Even the Nismo 350Z exhaust was amazing. The Nismo 370Z exhaust was decent, and you guys just don't want it. You want this other crap. So we're just going to give you a plain Jane exhaust. Merry Christmas. And so, yeah, this was one of the first things that were kind of done on this car. And
Yep.
then the vehicle is obviously tuned with Ecotech beta software and MS-109 fuel. So it had the big boy, Big
Race
Daddy
fuel.
fuel, race
Yeah,
fuel.
yeah.
Um, and again, this is on the VR30. So it ended up boasting 452 wheel horsepower, 523 telks, and on stock turbos, which me and Mike thought these were going to be the Achilles heel. We still don't know yet. But with this new design for the new turbo, which we had talked about again, 2 episodes, we're not going to talk about it again. Go back and watch the damn show. But
Yeah.
we talk about the stock turbos. They actually have a little bit of new technology that's built into them.
Yep.
So again, this was actually a pretty stout number in my opinion, just
Yeah.
straight out of the box with minimal tuning and running on Fat Daddy gas. But then
Yep.
again, Mike, you took the liberty of actually doing a bit of a comparison between the 370Z to this, right?
I did because I saw these numbers and what everybody's so impressed with, and I am too, is the torque. You get 500 foot-pounds. What is it? 523 foot-pounds of torque at 2,500 RPMs. That is a very, very low end. Tons of torque right off. I mean, you're talking about
Wow. It's a
off the
roller
line,
coaster. Yeah.
just going right. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, well, two things. One is that doesn't really seem to have been something that previous Z's have been about, at least in my opinion. Like the VQ, the 30 VQ35, VQ37, in my opinion, has always been a high revving engine. They call it the HR, right? High revving, rev high. It's always meant to be a high revving engine. And you're seeing here that these torque lines they dip, uh, they decrease starting at
At
oh let
5.
let's just say
Yeah.
4,500 RPMs. That
y-
torque
Yeah.
just
It started to
just
drop off. Yep.
it drops, and which is nothing that you would really see in previous Z's. Now, granted, you would
But
never see
but
this.
look right off the line. You know what I mean? Like, of
Yes.
course, we're talking about a tune, and some
Yeah.
of this may have been adjusted, of course,
Yes.
but I mean, right off the line, it's just straight. It's a roller coaster. It's just straight through the roof.
I
So
agree, and I think there's a number of reasons for this. And again, I'm not saying that one's better than the other. I'm just saying this is something that I've noticed that makes me think that this new Z is a different experience. I mean, we already know it's a different experience, but this is one of the reasons why I think this would be a different experience. It is that butt dyno. It's probably one of the first indicators that we get when we're getting into a new car, right?
yeah,
And I think you're right. You're going to see this instant takeoff, like you said, but the torque drops pretty rapidly after 4,500 or after, let's say, 5,000 RPMs. Um,
I think
now,
it's
yeah,
intentional. Believe it or not. Like, okay,
yes,
so I'm going to give you this, right?
yeah,
So you make a quick spooling turbo to operate within that power that RPM band range. What is that? That's pretty much instant response, right?
hmm
So your hill country running, your getting out of a corner really fast, on like maybe want to give it the beans a little bit as you're going around the a roundabout or a turn somewhere, or
yeah,
you're out in the hill country and you want your wig to be kind of blown back a little bit. I mean, that is where you want to operate that world at. So Nissan is basically building that car for that type of
yeah.
driving
True.
experience, and I really think that's what it's about, in my opinion.
Oh,
Because if you think about it, that's what they're building. They took all this time to listen to what people want, and the
yes,
reality is, nobody wants something that's going to be up there in the 5,000 rpm range starting to build power at that point. You know what I mean? They
yeah,
wanted to give you something that was going to be responsive,
yeah,
off the line, and they gave it to you. They
yes,
gave you exactly what we asked for. They gave you turbos, they gave you
yes,
quick response, they cut the weight where they could. Of
yes.
course it's a big
Well,
well, but you know what I mean, it was going to be a bigger
it,
pig
it,
than what it was, than what it is.
yeah,
And I shouldn't say it's a big pig, but I'm saying it was going to be
yes,
a
yes.
heavier mass than what it is now,
It
because
could
they've
have been,
taken the
yes,
time, because it could have been. And then when you're in that driving experience, I mean, that's what you're kind of shooting for. I mean, the 370Z is a great performing car for
yes,
what it is, if you look at it as a whole.
yes.
But yeah, I
Well, the,
really think that it's purpose built vehicle for a certain type of
yeah.
market, and I think that's what it's for.
Now, I think there's there are a number of reasons why I think this is. Well, one is, here's the thing: you can't complain about this. Again, this is just an observation.
Yeah,
I'm not complaining because even if you look at these numbers, when you're at the top end, near the end of the engine range, you still have what is that? 550. Okay, so you're about, let's just say, a little under 250 pound-feet of torque at its red line, right? Well, with the old 370Z, you were maxing out at around the same torque. So
yeah, exactly.
the smallest, like the lowest number recorded on the new engine was once the highest number that was
Yeah.
on the previous engine. So these are still upgrades, but again, it's just not only is it a huge jump in power, but it's where you're getting the power that makes it different. And the reason
Mhm.
why I think about this too is that it reminded me of like an American car. I think about the old V8s, that low end power, the 350s, the
Oh,
LS1s. You're getting that takeoff. So this kind of feels American to me.
yeah.
I mean, that's my own opinion, I
You
guess.
know
And
what's
I've never
funny
driven
is
one yet, but that's what I
you can
see.
go and watch like old option videos when the 350Z was dropped.
Yeah.
And you would see that like they would talk about certain things like, hey, we wish we had more power here,
Yes.
or this was a great piece of design, design suspension piece like the zero lift. You'll have to go back and trust me on this one or do your research, but the zero lift design of the 350Z when it first came out,
Yeah.
all these things were kind of meant for the driving experience, but not necessarily giving people the power to kind of kill
Yeah.
themselves if they were like they were back on the Z32 days. So
Yeah.
um, I think what they're doing is they're like again they're designing the car around what's going to sell for the market. So
Yes.
you're kind of making a vehicle that's going to please the market. But you like an example, like if you've ever seen Japanese companies or Japanese motorsport groups talk about the Corvette like early on, or we're talking like 90s 2000s, where they would say cars got ridiculous amount of power but it handles like it handles like it's just
It's a boat.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
a boat, it's tail happy,
Yeah.
because the thought process wasn't there for the all experience of handling. So there's so much more that goes into this
The
car than
package.
just power and everything else. And the other thing too is you can't really compare, and I hate to say it, and I'm making a case for going against everything we're talking about, but we're talking force induction versus non-turbo.
Yep.
And
Total different
a
animal.
total different animal that also has something to play into it as
Yep.
well. And then the handling aspects of everything. I mean, ultimately the new Z is based off of the Z34 370Z platform, but they've taken the time to add in all the additional rigidity. Again, we're not going to talk about this now. Go back and listen to the last two episodes because we've covered this till we're blue in the face.
Yeah.
But there's that. But again, I'm going to go ahead and just so we're not beating a dead horse, and we can
Mhm.
talk about this literally for hours,
Yes,
like
we
we were
can.
talking about in
I
a
still have
parking
one
lot,
more after you're done, but go ahead. Yeah.
because we're nerds. But the
Yeah.
reality is, overall, as a package,
Yes.
as Tamuro-san would say, as a dance partner, it's probably one of the best Z's, supposedly, that's out there,
I
that's ever
agree.
been made. So
I agree. It's the high.
I would,
It's the most powerful Z out of the factory ever.
and I would tell you right now, if you get your hands on one for test driving, have the experience, because I don't. I have this theory. This is just me.
Ooh.
We're a few years off from now, but I have this theory that this will probably be one of the last combustion engines that Nissan puts out. If they do,
Ooh. Yeah.
it's going to be we're getting a lot of, we're running into territory where we're going to have a lot of people like hell no, blah blah blah, and people get very
Yeah.
emotional about this. But I'm going
Yeah.
to say right now, I would probably try to spend some time in this car, because this might be, in my opinion, I bet you anything, this is going to be the last combustion Z
Yeah.
Z put out, which isn't a bad
It's
thing,
not a
because
bad thing.
now all the new EV stuff that's coming out, it's
Hmm.
EV muscles finally starting
Yep.
to become a cool thing, because
That's
Dodge
been a thing too.
is
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
these crazy power vehicles out now. There's crazy juices coming out.
Yeah.
You and me have been picking apart articles for the last 2 weeks on how
Yep.
the market's finally starting to ramp up, as long as there's batteries there. So
As long as there's lithium or whatever component
yeah,
they're
yeah,
using. Now, you mentioned. I'm glad you mentioned EVs because I almost felt bad saying American because that's almost like an insult to me in some ways.
America.
But what I really meant to this is another one, and this is on the same front, which is yes, the Z is or the trend. Um, we're comparing against muscle, e-muscle, right? And what is EV muscle? It's that instant torque off the line. That's what EVs. That's what a big uh, feature
It
of
is.
EVs are.
It's instant torque. It's a roller
Yeah,
coaster.
and that's kind of what these turbos are doing. They're competing. They're trying to get you to they don't want to be. The worst thing would be someone saying, "Oh, well, it doesn't have, the EV's faster." Well, again, that's a whole different conversation. But this is that low end torque that I think kind of keeps this car competitive, even with the EVs.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, last thing I had, one
Well,
is
we got to do
go
some
ahead.
crowd work. Let me see here.
Oh, okay.
JLE, it would be interesting to see a VQ37 TT versus a VR30 Dyno Comparo. Yes, it would. One day, maybe.
VQ
All right.
37
Kelsey
TT.
Steffen
Yeah.
just chiming in. Hey, what's up?
What's
JLE
up?
again, power delivery like the single overhead Cam VG30, you shut your mouth. Let me see here. And Orlando Nunez, I enjoy driving my 350Z a lot more in the stock form, more than when I installed the single turbo system. Yeah, well, it's all about,
I
and it is all about making everything function together. It's if you have a massive car that you're putting a ridiculous amount of power in, and then you
mhm.
don't take the time to evolve the suspension, yeah, it's a balancing game. It's a
Listen,
balancing act for a car. And that's the beautiful thing I love about when you hear like Japanese importers, or you watch these old like motoring videos. Go back
yeah,
and watch some of them in DVD. They're all in Japanese, but you can get the subtitles. But the big thing with them in design and their passion is a balance of a vehicle. The best ones I will ever tell you, and I'm just telling you right now, you can find them on YouTube. 360 Motoring or the old, I don't know, they're all a JDM option.
option.
From time to time, they'll do these comparison where they take 5 or 6 tuner garages that are based out of Japan, like Mines and Apexi, and they'll put their cars out, and then they'll give like Tetsu and some of the, or not Tetsu, um, DK, San, and a couple of those guys an opportunity to drive the vehicles. And what it
Yeah,
really always comes down to is the turbo matched for the engine, for the RPMs. Is the suspension matched for the weight of the car?
yeah,
Have they taken a time? Is it front heavy? Is it back heavy?
yeah,
Do they have a differential that's reactive when it should be reactive in and out of the corners? Is the braking package right? There's
yeah.
so many things that come into it, and you just have to look at so many aspects of the car. I'm not going to
That
I'm not going to dive too much into that because I can literally
yeah.
talk about that for hours.
Yes.
Mike
Yeah,
knows,
yeah.
so I'm
I'm
going
the
to leave
same
it
way.
alone.
Yeah. Well, that's
So
the thing too, and I will say though too, a lot of my autocross buddies, they'll say the same thing that you're saying is that there's a certain priority on where you put your mods. Like if you have a certain amount of money and you have a car that's completely stock, where's the priority go? It's always in order: braking,
brakes,
suspension, power. Power is the
yeah,
last thing that you worry about because you want to fortify and really get your brake system and your steering system exactly where you want it, so that when you put the power and you add power, the car is capable. Your confidence. That's the whole thing. It's a whole mentality, and I see that a lot with autocross and other types
yep,
of competitive
I
driving.
would agree
Now,
with you
I,
10,000.
I left this comment up with from Orlando here just for a second too, because I he chimed on something that I wanted to talk about too, which is he says driving my 350Z is a lot more was a lot more. I enjoyed it a lot more in stock form than when I installed the single turbo system, and I think that kind of comes down to the philosophy of the driver. I'll give you an example. I drive a stock 350Z. I enjoy it, and what I enjoy about it is being able to put my foot on the floor, the pedal on the floor, give what I consider everything the car's got, and it's like that emotional like take it to the limit, man. Let's do it, right? And you just go as long as you can. Maybe there's some sort of primal reaction to that. When you go turbo, you get more power, and all of a sudden you got a car that wants to kill you, and you're almost limited. You almost don't. You can't, depending on, especially on in your situation or where you're at, your environment, you can't give it the beans, the 100% on the pedal, and so you almost feel sad about that sometimes too. So that's just something I've noticed from both aspects of non-turbo and turbo and things like
Yeah.
that.
So if you do drive a car and you're really concerned with getting the most you can out of your car, get the balance right, and then give it the beans. So
Yes, this has been a public service announcement from your friends at the
yeah.
Nissan Nerd Podcast.
Mm, moving on. So and one thing I kind of wanted to talk about, and we'll get through some of the news because we've got
Yeah,
some really good motorsports news to kind of talk about, and a hell of a race that I want to kind of comment here in just a little
sure,
bit. But
sure.
a few side notes. We've talked about the cars and the new Z, but I did want to let you know, Mike. I don't know if you've noticed this, but the new Z.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had an opportunity to check up the markups now that it's finally making their way to
Oh,
dealerships?
dude, I've seen so many things in my timeline. These news, it's not as bad as maybe I thought it would be. I've seen
Mhm.
cars go for more, but it's still disgusting to think about.
All right.
Yeah.
So the craziest one is the one that we've kind of shared on the on the page, and I'll kind
Hmm.
of let me see if you want to give me the steering wheel.
Sure.
I'll show you the one that I kind of found as of recently, and of course we commented it on our Facebook and our Instagram because we're starting to use that now.
Starting
So
and
starting to.
we're hey, we should probably say if there's anybody who's a guru with Instagram, we should go and call us up, man. We'll put you to
Anybody who
work.
would like to work for free as our media consultant, yes, we'd love to have you. So
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but yeah, so obviously the new Z's out right now, and
Mhm.
for those that don't know, this has been the pricing. So suggested manufacturer retail price 54,000. Adjusted market value, basically the dealership markup, 73,811 $881. That's a seller asking price of
Ooh,
129,000. And
129.
yeah, 129, 129,000.
Oh, that is high. Okay, I thought the one I remember seeing was probably like in the low 100s,
Yeah.
and I so this is the biggest one I've seen. Yeah.
So this is probably the biggest one I've seen, and people are just like, "That's crazy! I can't believe they're not going to be able to sell that car for that, or some crazy person's going to come and pay it." The reason why the outlandish markup is, and I will say this in the defense of Nissan, and they're getting the
Hmm.
cars out there. There is definitely still limited production and availability of this car throughout the United States. And
Yes.
we can attest to this because we know for a fact, talking on this episode on this
Oh,
podcast as long as we have, that chip shortages are very
chip.
much a real thing. There's Z's ready to go that just have chip shortage concerns. They can't be they can't get out. They can't go through QI without this kind of stuff. So again, so what does a
Yep.
dealership do? They're like, hey, we got this great car. Can they sell it? Yeah, of course. They can get rid of it in 10 minutes. But what
Yeah.
they do is they mark these cars up so they can at least keep them in the freaking showrooms so people can at least have them
Oh.
there. So unless some
To
crazy rich
to drool
SO,
over for as long as possible,
SOB
maybe.
comes through, they can say, "Hey, you know what? You can if you really want this car, we'll sell it to you at this price, but we're just trying to keep it in the showroom for for people to enjoy."
Because who
Yeah.
knows when we'll get the next one. I mean, this is a nice draw to the dealership.
And what's happening is, and I talked about, I had some pretty good insights from the last
Oh,
episode that we did before the vacation, and we were just kind of talking offline, and they were said, yeah, originally there was going to be more cars that were going to make it out to market. There may not be as much, and it's naturally going to happen because of the chip shortages and delays that are happening.
yeah,
It's not Nissan's fault. All the manufacturers are kind of going through the exact same thing right now.
yeah, eh,
But
yeah.
but when they do get to the dealership, what's the point of it making it to the dealership just so it can end up in somebody's garage where
Yeah.
nobody else can see it, So
Well, well, that's another reason too. And I guess this maybe is a reason why I also sympathize for Nissan and these other manufacturers. Is you got to imagine they have a limited amount of chips or materials that they can make chips from,
yeah,
and they are battling. You know, are we building? Are we being innovative and dedicating some of this material and these chips to our new models? How many? So that we always have that our customers see us as always bringing out these brand new innovative cars, which is very very important for Nissan right now because of the whole Nissan Next and Ambition 2030 programs. They need to maintain that momentum to their customers. But on the same hand, it's like, well, again, with the same limited amount of materials, we got to keep the lights on. Okay, so what car has the most margin? Okay, probably the Altima. Okay, so there's that balance. Like, where do you draw a line on the spectrum? X percentage going towards innovative new models, X percentage going into what keeps the lights on too. And I'm sure a lot of these cars that are coming out are probably the base model because they require less chips.
yeah, I would think you're probably 100% right. So, I mean, we just have to kind of work our way through them and then get through this craziness That is the price markups right now. So yeah,
Mm,
don't be too mad at your local dealerships. They're just trying to keep vehicles in the showroom so people can kind of enjoy them. So
yeah.
don't go over there pitchforks and torches just yet.
I,
So now, Mike, on
yeah.
that news, talking about dealerships, your doom
Mm.
and gloom guy today.
Oh,
Um,
I tried
you
not
had
to be, but yeah.
it was my fault. I kind of put this up on our podcast, and you can go back and find it. But there was some bad news about one of the newsies that did make it to the dealership
Ooh.
and got a little famous. I'll let you go ahead and take it.
Oh man. Well, I'm gonna do some multitasking here. I'm going to search our
Hmm.
Facebook page. Get this video queued up for you guys that are with us now. This and it's surprising. Two things that surprised me about this video. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and say it. We'll go ahead and say it. We essentially have video proof that this is most likely the first new Nissan Z to be. Would you say it's totaled, Miles? It's damaged for sure.
uh,
Airbags deployed. What would you call it?
I don't know, man. Airbag deployment per airbag, just to let you guys know, if you ever blow an airbag, three, it's usually going to be pricing of around $3,000, $4,000 per airbag. So you
Ooh.
start doing the math, but the markup on these cars is so high that it's going to save. I think it'll be fine.
The
So
The door will need to be replaced. I'm
you're
scrolling
going to
through our
ask me,
page right
this is
now.
my wheelhouse. This is what I do all day in,
Ooh,
man.
oh yeah, it's Mr.
So
Auto Adjuster. Brand new car, brand new car. Of
doesn't
course,
matter. The markups on it going to be so high. I think it's going to save, and especially with a quarter panel.
yeah.
Yeah, if I remember, I'm going over it in my mind, but it's definitely a door replacement. You got airbag replacement,
Hmm.
and then I think it was like a quarter panel that is going to need a lot of hours, or it's going to need a new quarter panel piece. Just depends on what it is. But it was pretty bad. But to be the first one, ooh, to be that
Yeah.
kid that just
Oh,
drove the car.
here it is. So this is video here. I'm gonna pause it just to let you guys with us take a look at what's going
Oh
on here.
yeah,
That's a
I
front
totally forgot about the
fender,
fenders.
door,
Bumper.
airbags. Now this was okay. So here's a story. Here's the story. Okay,
Oh,
there
here's the
is. Let's
story.
just call it a porter, young kid who works at the dealership. Now I heard the customer was at the dealership anticipating receiving the car at that very moment. And as you can see, it's raining outside. Um, this kid decides to give press the gas a little bit longer. So excited, Miles. I can see you.
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna give Billy the porter my car?
Billy,
Okay.
it's
Yeah. Come on, Billy. Bring it
it's his
around,
second
Billy.
day. Yeah, and he's 16.
Billy. Yeah, Billy. Go
Who
for it,
knows?
Billy.
He
Look
goes
what I
around.
can do.
He goes around the corner, decides to give the car a little extra gas, have some fun. Of course,
Oh.
doesn't know what he's got behind the wheel. Not only
Hold.
does he
Hold.
damage,
Oh,
yeah.
this. You want to check this out? Hold my bang drink. All right. Oh.
Let's see what we got here. Boom! Look at that too.
Uh.
Oh man, the handle. Now, not only did he, and here's the thing. This is the rosewood metallic. I would say this is probably gonna be one of your more limited produced colors. Would you say? Because you think about it,
Yeah.
this reminds me a lot of Brickyard. Brickyard was a limited color. You might only get this the first year. This might be a 1 year color,
Yeah. I think this is a 1 year color. So who
and this is
knows,
happening.
right?
And
But
this
it.
guy also hits other brand new trucks. It's not like he hit a guardrail. He hit other vehicles that were not sold on the dealership lot. Uh,
God damn, Billy.
yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that this was his last day there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just I don't think his porter services. I don't care how hardcore he parked cars or waxed cars after that. Billy's not keeping his job.
Billy's not keeping his job.
Oh,
For shame,
Billy.
Billy.
For shame, Billy. Oh, Billy, Billy.
Now, again, I think where this happened it was
Mm.
one of the first. I just could be wrong. Puerto Rico, Guam. I don't see any license plates. I can't really tell you where, but I want to say it was not in the main 48. I want to say it was.
Oh, no me gusta, Billy. Just moving on. Well, either way,
Oh man,
que
yes, yes.
terrible. All right, moving on. Ay, no me
You're fun.
gusta. All right. So that's pretty much I thought we were done with all the bad doom and gloom. Yeah, and just to let you know, we're going to throw these quick ones in there because there's been a lot of news as of late.
Mm.
So, and just so we can get all the hate out, these are just quick little blurbs.
Let
We're
the
not
hate
going to
out.
show the
Let
article. Let all
this
the hate
this
out.
is the dark side of the force. Just
Yeah,
let it
this is all
out
the dark,
today.
and then we're gonna move after this to some other fun stuff. So, for those that don't know and didn't see the article, California is potentially proposing to ban the sale of all gas powered vehicles starting in 2035. So,
that is a I
mm,
think now of course there is I'm sure a judicial process or
yeah, I'm sure.
a
Yeah.
legislative process that makes this actually go into effect. I don't think it's there yet. I don't know if it's going to pass.
That's a
That's
very Karenish statement, but
mm,
yeah,
oh well in
yeah.
our favor because I don't want it to go through. Obviously, I mean that's 13 years from now. Okay, well I guess maybe they have better foresight into the future. I don't know if 13 years is going to
Oh
cut it.
yeah, I'm sure California's got a better foresight
Well,
into the future
California,
than the
yeah,
rest of
yeah, yeah.
us. Yeah, they've done so great so far. If you're in California, by the way, we love California. If our demographics are high in California, we love you. But if you don't listen, you're from California, then work on your problems. Moving on, Australia. For those that are listening from that side of the pond, Australia is restricting auto loans. Are potentially going to Australian banks are going to be restricting auto loans of gas-powered vehicles starting in 2025. Again, also a very
much
Karenish statement, but it seemed pretty harsh, bro. I'm like,
That's and much sooner. I mean, now I don't know what the population's like, the percentage of EVs that are currently on uh, in Australia. So I don't know whether maybe it's more attainable
mm,
than it is here in the states. But I mean, here in the states, for example, less than the number is definitely in the single digits of the percentage of EVs on the roads. So that's why I feel like even 2035 is still too soon. Australia may be different though, but it does seem like a very strong leap, no matter how you look at it.
I know, crazy, right? So I don't know. I just wanted
Huh?
to throw those out there. We'll run past those because we've got a lot to cover here
Yes, we
today.
do. Yeah.
Um, let's go into motorsports, and I want to start off since we're in doom and gloom mode. We're going to just squash all the doom and gloom, and I want to talk about
Ooh,
one hell of a race that worked out in Nissan's
Mr.
favor
Sunshine, Miles Hall, go for it.
over the last period of racing for the Super GT series. And let me see here if I can talk a little bit about that. But we threw the I guess the quick results from it up here on the Facebook page over the last few days because it just ended recently. But let me see here
hmm
and let me know when you got that, Mike.
Sure.
But and I'll run this in the background whenever it comes up. But
Computer.
for those that followed the Super GT race that actually just occurred through the through round 5 in the Suzuka circuit, it was pretty intense. The We'll start off with Saturday on the 27th with the practice. Um, Practice overall for the 500 series, again, it's 500 and 300 series. We had the Motul Altec Z actually putting in a soft second place. And they were set up to be
Okay.
really good competitively for the day. Craft Sports Motul Z was coming out of fourth. And then the Calsonic Impulse Z sitting around eighth for the practice for the day. Now
Okay.
we get into Saturday's qualifying, and things change a little bit. Let me see here. Now, this is actually the race that we're going to be showing you here on the screen, and this was the layout at lap 62. So for qualifying, wasn't bad. The For the 500 series, the Moto Alltech Z ended up sitting on the pole, and then underneath that, the
Mm.
NSX, and then another NSX, and then it was all the way down for the Realize Advan C in sixth. The Calsonic Impulse C was sitting in 15th place in
Ooh.
qualifying. Now, for the actual Sunday's race, let me see
Okay.
if I can get through this silly advertisement, but let me see here. But getting
Uh,
through that, the advertisement get off the screen.
ah. So the
But
story is about Calsonic. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, the story is going to be about Calsonic here as we go through, and I'll show you that Motul actually going up with first and second place, and there's a bit of a runoff that's going to happen here in just a moment,
Ooh.
and you keep watching it, and it gets pretty interesting. And you can watch that, and I'll keep talking
Yeah,
here.
I'm watching.
There you go. There's your
Ooh,
runoff right
whoa!
there.
In the grass, in the
Yeah, and
grass.
it
That's
happens
a
really quick.
very
So
dangerous too. Yeah.
I'll get you a little bit of a replay on that.
Woo. That could have been so bad, dude. The fact
Now
that he
this
was
is
able to keep that car
important
straight.
because
Yeah.
Calsonic's position at that time, of course, the Motul team and of course the Calsonic team are having a bit of words talking
Having
about what should
words.
having words about what should happen from that point. So what's going to happen from this point? The Calsonic team basically needs to fight their way to the front of the pack, if they're standing any type of a chance. 3 laps to go in this race, and they're giving this vehicle the beans. And you can watch it to the end. Hell of a race. Calsonic ends up taking first place, and winning it
Oh, oh,
here
there
at
it is.
that.
There it is. The overtake. Is it gonna stick?
That's it. That's it right there.
Whoa! Was it just by a hair? What?
It was
I mean, they're door to
well.
door.
This was the overtake at the 3 laps, and then from there
Okay,
he's
there it
gone.
is. Okay, he secured it. Oh
And
man,
look at that. Look at that. Just gone.
how how's
And
the
now
European
he's just got to
commentators? That's
maintain.
brilliant.
And then
Yeah.
yeah. And
Wow.
Hoshino's just kind of watching as team manager just patiently.
So
But
Calsonic. Yeah.
yeah, and then so they ended up taking first place for the round 5 at Suzuka in the 500 series. And the Astemo NSX, which had been chasing him and pretty much leading the pack all day, ended up taking second. The Denzo Super in third. And then the Craft Sports Motul Z ended up putting in fourth. The Motul Altic Z, for whatever reason, stumbled their way back down. They made their way into fifth place, officially in the 500 class for the day.
Wow.
Yeah, one heck of a race, and
That
there's your results for the day.
that's a great story. So from 15th to first,
Hmm.
and it seemed to be a bit of a hiccup, an unknowingness as to whether or not there could have been a penalty, uh, uh, or whatnot, and still being resilient and, and
Yeah,
gaining
they
first
and
place.
early on they were talking about race results for the day. They were preemptive, if you will, where they were kind of talking about it, and they were like, well, in case there's any situations that are going to come above that, that's what the day was going to go through. Talking a little bit about the 300 class in qualifying for Saturday, the Tenax Gainer GTR actually took qualifying, sitting at the top of the pole for
Hmm.
that date. The Realize Nissan Mechanic Challenge GTR actually ended up putting in fourth place. And let's see here, the finish out for the race for the 300, unfortunately, didn't go to the Gainer GTR. They ended up taking second place for the day, and then the next Nissan in the line would be the Realized Nissan Mechanic Challenge GTR. Didn't get into 13, got into 13th place. So not
Wow.
the worst day, but they were
Yeah.
still finishing in the points, at least for the Gainer team for the GTR. So yeah, one hell of a day for those guys. At least in the 500 class, great day for Nissan. So I
Very
was,
impressive.
yeah, I was really
The
happy with
300,
that
500 class.
race result. And again, one heck of a race. I think we threw the full race up on the Facebook page if you want to go back and check it out.
Hmm.
Now, the next round that's going to be coming up here, let's see here. I'll give you those details momentarily. But yeah, the next race is going to be coming up here fairly soon. And I apologize. My computer's working a little slow today, but this will be round 6 at Sugo. And
Hmm.
that's going to be occurring here on the 17th and the 18th. We'll obviously, if we can, we'll try to give you the live setup or at least the end results and a quick recap of the race as we continue on. So we still have round 6, 7th, and 8th, finishing up in Motegi for the final round.
6, 7, and 8. It's getting close. Wow. Wow.
Hmm.
That's uh, I know you had shared a lot of the Super GT updates on our Facebook page, and I was that was a few of those where I was reading as you were dropping them, and yeah, it seemed like a very exciting time. A lot of achievement there, a lot of challenges that they um, endured and persevered, I guess you could say. So
Okay.
awesome.
I wanted to go back a little bit. Brad commented in from Australia, and he says here in Australia there's almost no EVs available and almost none on the road. And I kind of felt that when we dropped that
Mm.
news article, and like I said, it's a very Karenish statement because it's pretty bold. And then Brad actually underneath it chimed in. He goes, "That story about car loan restrictions for ICE cars in Australia is a beat up. The bank making that statement is a newly emerging startup bank only, definitely not mainstream." And it kind of felt like
Oh,
that. So again, we're gonna backpedal a little bit, and I'm gonna
yeah,
go ahead and
no,
I'm
yeah.
gonna take Brad's lead on that one. I would say that's probably it's borderline fake news, if you
I
will, with
I
us. But
I love the fact that we've got a some boots on the ground, man. Thank you, Brad. This is
thank you, Brad.
awesome.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
But yeah, let's talk a little bit about motorsports. Going back to it, Formula E, a lot of
Ooh.
changes, Mr. Doom and Gloom, happening in Formula E. So go ahead and tell
Well,
us and give us the world
I
that's
really hope that
happening.
this, yeah, this second half of the show here, guys. I think I should be much more positive. I think that a lot of that's taken care of. So, let me share this with you. I'm going to share my screen here. Let's go for it. Now, you got to think about the last time we left off, Miles, talking about Formula E and the Nissan E-Dams team, which was mid-July. Since then, there have been 6 rounds, 3 weekends that were back-to-back races. So 6 rounds we have not been able to recap. I'm going to do my best to recap those ever so briefly and kind of give you an idea of where Nissan has essentially wound up. Hate to be a spoiler, but yeah, the Formula E season for 2022 has ended. There's not much more left to report in terms of races, aside from what I'm about to share with you guys. So let's go ahead and just get into it. Again, 6 rounds, 2 in New York, 2 in London, and 2 in South Korea that happened here within the last 6 weeks. Now, our 2 drivers, Sebastian Buemi and Maximilian Gunther, in terms of points, the 2 in New York, let's see, let's show you what they finished. First round in New York, Buemi finished in fifth. That brought home 10 points for the Nissan team, which is impressive. Very, very good. Gunther came in 12th. That brings 0 points. Second race, no points that either driver were able to provide the team. So 10 points in New York. When you move on into London, the following 2 rounds, Buemi came in 11th, Gunther in 8th. In total, that's 4 points that these drivers were able to provide the Formula E team, the Nissan Formula E team. Second round, Buemi captures 6th place, brings in 8 points. Gunther brings in 0, sadly, 15th place. And then the last round, rounds 15 and 16 in Seoul, South Korea. Buemi had a DNF. Gunther came in and 11th, no points there. However, in the second race of that weekend, Buemi comes in 9th place. That's 2 points for Nissan team. Gunther had a DNF in that one as well. Now, I should say this. Now, within these last races, the drivers have probably brought in more points in these last 6 races than they have in the previous 10, or at least the last previous 5. Honestly, I want to say this performance of both of them has been uh, an improvement over previous rounds.
Well, is there a
Yeah.
reason for that? I mean, is there? It seems like they were racing their. Were they racing their last races?
Well, maybe you're getting it. You could say that. Yeah, yeah. Let me, let me. What's the word?
I'm going to the dessert, and we're still
You're going
ordering
straight for the
drinks.
dessert, Miles. Yeah, I'm still ordering drinks. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Well, let's talk about that. So, what I wanted to share here. These are the standings, the team standings for the 2022 season, Formula E. The Nissan EDAMS team came in ninth
Meh.
for this season. That's the 36 points. And again, if you look at that, 36 points over the last 6 weeks. Let me see, 10, 4, 16 of those have been within the last 3 weeks. So that's
Mhm.
almost half of their points. That's that upswing I was telling you about in terms of their performance. Now, in general, though, Nissan team came in at ninth as a constructor out of 11 teams. Um, this has been part of a steady, or so I would say almost rapid decline that the team has made in recent years. I made a chart for you, Miles, because that's what
Oh,
nerds do.
pie
Yeah,
chart.
yeah, pie. Nah,
Ah,
not even
there's no
that.
pie chart.
Line chart, line chart. Okay,
Boo.
so what I'm wanting to show you here, this is every year that Nissan and or Renault at the time have been involved in Formula E. The first 3 years, they were actually first as a constructor. Following move up to fifth, which is actually you want to be first, right? So they moved down to fifth. Over the next 2 years, got as good as being second place as a constructor. That was 2 years ago. Now, these last 2 years, especially these last 2 years that we've been reporting this, Miles, last year they were 10th place as a constructor, and again this year as ninth place
Good
as
God.
a constructor. That is a very, very steep decline,
You know what it
having
is?
once been.
Maybe
What's that?
maybe it's us. Maybe it's us though.
Maybe we're
Maybe
the bad luck
maybe
charm.
we're the bad luck charm. Maybe we are putting the kibosh on these guys, and we just ruin people's lives by just being fans.
I
So
don't
maybe
know.
we should step off a little bit. I'm
We,
just kidding.
you think we should take a step back and
No, not at all. We're going to support these guys all the way to the
yeah,
end.
yeah, yeah.
So let's talk a
Yes.
little bit about what's happening for next year.
Right. So, uh, now since the 2022 season has ended, yes, the Nissan Formula E team has made a lot of big changes, and like you said, this is for the 2023 season. Sadly, let's just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. Sebastian Buemi and Maximilian Gunther will no longer be part of the Nissan EDAMS team
Damn,
for
homie.
2023. Both,
Walking papers.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, this last season here was Gunther's first year with Nissan. So maybe not. Let's just say maybe the sting didn't hurt too much with Gunther.
Yeah,
Still a great performing guy. I hope he does well.
yeah.
Now I think
Just
the emotional part I would say is Sebastian Buemi. He's been with the team since day
be-
one,
day
since
one.
season one, back when it was Renault at the time. And he went ahead. Actually, part of here is a very heartfelt message, a farewell to the EDAM's name and its legacy and Formula E. Uh, Again, no longer part of the Nissan team. Who knows where he'll wind up? I have not seen any updates as far Sebastian as a driver where he will end up. I don't know whether it's behind the wheel or as a commentator. We don't. I mean, I personally cannot speculate per se.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, thanks for bumming me out again.
God, you know what? Next, we're gonna make a point that the next episode we do, no, no downers, no downers. Can we agree to that right now? We'll save the recalls for.
Yeah, yeah. Why don't? So it's going to be just me reporting. So because I know you love the
I'm
doom and
gonna go ahead
gloom.
and take
So
the day off. Yeah, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, yeah.
so you want to talk about the? So it sounds like Nissan's also picked out new drivers for the 2023 season, which is
They
kind of
have to.
crazy. They just emptied their cubbies. Now they're being filled by new guys. Who are our new drivers?
All right, you ready to butcher some names?
Yeah, let's do this.
Let's go for it. All right, our next two drivers for the Nissan Formula E team. These are these guys here. Look at those dudes. Norman Nato, perhaps, and Sancha Fanestras. That's the only I'm gonna go with that.
No, dude. I think you hit it 100%.
You think so?
Yeah.
All
So
right,
if
cool. I'll take
Mr.
it.
Finestras, if you're on with us here tonight, which you probably are not, give us a thumbs up or thumbs down if we got the pronunciation right. Put the acento where we needed to put the acento. So moving on. Yeah. So again, Sancho Finestras and Norman Nato are going to be the new drivers for the 2023 season. Very, very cool. Also, a bit of a name change. I guess we're wiping off, changing out the badge as well for the team. Is that right?
Yes, yes. So, we actually reported this in the last episode how actually this throughout the entire 2022 season, Nissan and the EDAMS team have made a number of changes throughout the 2022 season. Uh, that being the EDAMS team was once owned by a particular person, let's say the family, and has since been changed to, I guess, 100% full ownership by Nissan. Uh, maybe with that being said, the name itself is the Nissan Formula E team. EDAMS is no longer part of the title. So going forward, Nissan Formula E team. I
Oh
think
man.
this rebranding of the team, the rebrand, the new drivers. These are huge, huge changes that
We
Nissan
talked
is
about
making.
this like
Yes.
maybe, I don't know, probably 3 episodes back, and we're like, I bet you anything, Nissan likes to do this massive wave of change from time to time.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, sometimes they'll do it with drivers and racing teams or management for those racing teams, and it's just like it comes through this big crazy change, and it's for the good of the brand, and I get it, but I don't know what, time will tell, so we'll see how it goes. So
Yeah, and now you got to
um
combine this with things that we've reported
yeah,
previously as well. The 2023 season will have the brand new Gen 3
yeah,
Formula E car. This
I
car
forgot about
has
that. Yeah,
you're getting a power bump. I think it's a 200 horse power bump. I want to say it's going from 600 to 800, or it's
yeah,
800 to I think it's
they're
800. Yeah.
starting to. The whole series is actually. It seems like they're going to start bringing on more power, and then the
Yep.
racetracks, from what I've read, are going to be starting to be a little more. They're going to give them these horses a little more room to gallop.
Oh, they
From
have
what
to. They
they
have
have
to.
to, and so which will make for hopefully more of an exciting season,
Yep.
which
Yep.
will kind of move. I'm still curious about the rumor that Netflix is going to pick up Formula E
You've been
for
sticking to
that.
that one for a while.
I
I
hope
would
I
love to see
hope
it.
I
Yeah.
hope it's a real thing. I hope it actually kind of happens. It's been a rumor up until now, but maybe one day. So,
It worked very well for the Formula One
oh, very
leagues
well. It
lead.
revived everything that's happening in Formula. Ooh, so we'll move on from
uh,
there.
that and then also you got to remember this. Nissan is supplying their Gen 3 engines to Team McLaren, who is entering Formula E in 2023.
Yep,
So
yep,
you've got Nissan powertrains on not just two, but four vehicles that are entry for every race in the 2023 season.
yep,
These are
yep.
big numbers. This makes me think that Nissan, obviously, this is what we're seeing now is obviously a result of years of development and business agreements and deals. So I
Backdoor
really have
deals.
backdoor
So
deals.
all
Uh,
right. Well,
yeah.
moving on. But yeah, let's get off of Formula E.
Hmm.
We'll get ready here for the next season.
Yep.
But very, very cool stuff. Yeah, look for us as we begin to open up the season. Obviously, we're going to talk about these new drivers, and give you a little bit of what's happening on the media side as it's unloaded onto the world.
Yep.
A few things we need to talk about. Sentra Cup, our favorite Canadian Sentra-based series, Sentra and March based series. Still an awesome series. Mike, I'll let you kind of share the page on that one. But
No problem.
for those that don't know, I mean, we've been gone, Mike, like I said, for roughly 6 weeks, and we've missed. Actually, it was two different race events held, but it was a total of four different races that we missed. So
Yes.
a lot to kind of cover, and I'm going to keep this very brief for the perseverance of time, which we
Sure.
usually don't follow. But races 5 and 6 and races 7 and 8 are the ones that we need to cover. July 22nd, 24th, races 5 and 6 was actually at the Circuit Mont Tremblant.
Mm, sounds
And so
delicious.
that was the Summer Classic race weekend for those that didn't get a chance. Just a brief talking about the results from the event. So let's see here for the, oh my gosh, 1 second. Race 5. I'm just going to give you the leaders on this one to keep it easy for
Yep.
everybody. Race 5, Kevin
Go for it. Yeah,
King.
it's a little hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Alexandra 14 ended up taking first on that. Justin Arsenault ended up taking
Hmm.
second, and Oliver Bedard ended up third. Now, what's funny about this race
Yeah.
is we've been following the same few people as
Yes.
leaders, and then you've got just some people that are just kind of killing it, as it were. We'll talk about a little bit about driver positions as we move forward throughout the season. But let's see here. For race 6, Simon Charbonneau ended up
Hmm.
getting in first. Valerie Limoges, you want to talk about butchery, second place, and then Oliver Bedard in third place for race number 6.
Hmm.
Now, moving on from there, we've got August 5th and August 7th race that was 7 and 8.
Okay.
Now, Race number 7 was Justin Arsenault in first place, Alexander 14 in second place, Kevin King coming in third. And then round 8 was actually Kevin King, Sylvain Oulet, and Eric Chabot. They actually ended up. That was where your leaders were for those races. Now, as a whole, for the race series, we still have two more race dates, which basically constitutes as four more races:
Four
race
more
9 and
races. Yep.
10, race 11 and 12. Race 9 and 10 will actually be coming up just this weekend, September 2nd through the 4th at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in Ontario. And then the last race will be back at the Circuit Mont-Tremblant. And that'll be the end of September. So by the time we come back for the next episode, Mike, we'll
Yep.
have covered 9 and 10, and then we'll be setting up for the last race of the year, which will be race 11 and 12.
That
So,
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think Uh, this is our second year covering the Micra slash Centra Cup, and it's been a bit of a challenge to really keep track because there are so many names. There's I think this year, at least from what I've seen here, 39 entries.
yeah,
And it's not to say that every driver competes in every race. That's not exactly the
nope.
requirements as part of this league. Some people have only competed in one round. Some have competed as many as all eight.
Yeah.
And right, it's these names that you mentioned. I think the one that stuck out to me the most was Kevin King.
Kevin
Um,
King. He's been up
he's
there along with another gentleman, Justin Arsenault. He's
yeah,
been up there too as well, quite a bit.
yeah,
But then you've got your one-offs that'll take a race or two.
yeah,
I just wish there was more publication. Quite honestly, for the event, I wish there was more marketing for it. I want to see more of race. I want to see race recaps. Unfortunately, we don't get as much as we would like to here on our
yeah.
side. But again, if you truly love the series or are just a big fan of Nissan, send messages into the centracup.com website and let them know, hey, provide us with some coverage. Can we get media updates on the website? Just have a media option. We've actually sent them emails too as well saying, hey, we're trying to support your event. Let's get it out there. Let's talk about the drivers, get driver interviews, put them up here on the website.
Right.
With a little bit more because we really want to support Nissan's endeavors to keep this up as a racing cup series because this is truly grassroots racing. If you
Oh yeah,
were with a little bit of sponsorship from Nissan, but I think this is amazing, and I would love to keep continuing to cover this.
yeah.
And getting some actual real racing footage would be awesome, but from time to time it seems pretty hard to kind of go and dig for this stuff. But again, we'll keep you updated as we go through. We still got
Yep.
four more races to cover. Moving on from here, Mike,
Yes.
something we always cover every
Hmm.
year is the all females rebel rally, all female driver rebel rally that has actually kind of become favorite for you and me. And I think this is coming up here pretty soon, right?
It is. It is. So this is going to be the third year that we cover this. The Rebel Rally, like you said, all the teams are female teams. It is 8 days of competition, over 1,500 miles of stunning terrain, they call it, across the Nevada and California deserts. It's a race. It's not a race for speed, but a unique and demanding event based on the elements of headings. They said here hidden checkpoints, time, distance. They're using maps, compasses, a road book. There's no GPS,
You
no
no
cell phones
GPS.
allowed.
Yeah.
That's the big challenge too. They're using. I think they have a really good picture here that kind of explains what they're doing. Again, that's the road maps. That's the graph, the compass that they're having to use each day, being the same type of challenge, going through the deserts here in the western part
Yeah,
of
and
the
there's
country.
really nothing else that's out there like this. And
Yeah.
and I mean, this is not Baja 1000. You know what I mean? Where you're
Yeah.
you're out there pre-running. This is it. You've got to figure it out. I mean, it's truly it tests a lot more skills than you would think. I mean, it's there's a
Yeah.
mental capacity. There's definitely a grit factor that goes into it as well,
Yep.
and also the survivability of the vehicle and your co-driver and your navigator. It's just
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes into this, and me and Mike kind of talked about the sheer just level of commitment that has to kind of go into these 8 days for these women that are driving these cars. So again, I personally don't think there's not enough support and definitely not enough media support for this event. There is a
Mhm.
little bit, but I think there should be more, which is why we try to cover this, and
Yeah.
we love it. I mean,
Well,
we've been watching it, so
well, not only that though, but Nissan is have there are Nissan entries in this race. For example, last year, this is actually the Rebel Rally was actually an arena, if you will, for the brand new Nissan Frontier at the time. The new Frontier competed in this last year. It was sort of, and here's the cool part. Once this race was over, let's say this time, let's say September of last year, they took that same truck to SEMA. They didn't even wash it. That was the intention. They took this dirty, sand-filled truck and put it in the middle of SEMA to kind of show its capabilities, where it's been, what it's handled. And so last year there was a team, and the name escapes me. As we get closer to the actual events, which happens October 6th through 15th of this year, we're going to go ahead and give you some more details, especially Nissan's history with this event. Teams have not yet been announced, so I'm very confident there will be a Nissan team, multiple Nissan teams. Again, last year there was at least two that I recall. Um, we should hear more. If you are interested in learning more about this, you can go to rebelrally.com and let you know more about it. But as in the coming weeks here, we'll go ahead and share what Nissan teams are competing and as well where they finished this year.
very cool, man. Yeah,
Mhm.
thanks again for taking the time to kind of cover that. And like I said, just not too far off the horizon for that, October 6th through 15th. We'll keep you updated as we move forward. We're running on time here, Mike, but I know we wanted to talk a little bit about a special segment that we had. Let's just do it. So we had a car feature that had come up that we both liked. And we just started kind of talking about it, which is always a cool thing. But you found this online. We want to talk about it a little bit.
I did. I did. This was actually an article from this year. Now that I look at it a little bit later, but however, still very impressive. And we here at the Nissan Nerd Podcast has not have not uh, showcased this build, this car feature. So let's go ahead and just get into it. I will share my screen on this. What you're looking at here, ladies and gentlemen, is a Nissan Figaro with a Honda S2000 engine. The powertrain, although it is impressive, it's
Yeah,
what I
we
really
get
want to
it.
show.
It's not brand. We know that it's being powered by a Honda, but the
Yes.
whole thing is the amount of work and that had gone into the body. I mean, this wide
Yes.
body Figaro is just.
Yep.
I mean, to me and Mike, it's just well executed and it's stunning, quite honestly. So
And there is a full gallery that I'll be sharing here in just a second. Now I've known about the Figaro for a while. We actually have a friend out of Houston who's brought one over to our Turismo Fiesta in the past. Um, Very fun car. They were all from Japan. They were all right-hand drive. They were very underpowered in its stock form. It was a 1-liter 4-cylinder turbo engine. They was, I believe, in the late 80s or uh, 89, 91, early 90s is when this car had come out, and it looks nothing like what you're looking at in this picture. Actually, again,
yeah,
Miles, you know me in pictures. That's what it looks like
yeah,
when you get
that's
one
what a
from the
Nissan
factory.
Figaro looks like to me. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, it's that mint color, which I want to say was a very, very popular color. It may have been the only color. I mean, that's the only color
It
I've seen it.
to me, it's a throwback to the old, almost like Prince era. Going back to the
Yes.
old Roadster days. Almost to the Nissan Roadster. I mean, yeah, they were already chasing sporty colors and getting out of those type of colors. But yeah, I mean, it's a throwback to those days of a little more elegance and fun. That kind of went into cars at that time. So
Yep. Now, and that was the first thing that really impressed me with this build because this was probably one of the first times that I recall seeing this car, the Figaro, in red, which I'll get back to right here. And then the first thing that really struck to me is that red was also one of the most produced colors of. We're talking about the roadsters of the '60s, the Fair Lady Roadster,
ah,
and just in red alone, I never made the connection. Sad me, this looks like a modern version, again, early '90s version of a Fairlady Roadster. Um, Now it is a hardtop. I believe has that cloth
Yeah, I think in the front
top.
you kind of see it in the mouth a little bit, but I think
Yeah,
where you truly see it is right there in the tail end. It's just the lights.
tail
To
lights.
me, the lights and the slope of the rear. I mean, yeah,
Hmm.
the trunk design's a little different and obviously changed up, but I don't know. And then the fact that the top and the color layout is,
Yes,
it just to me it kind of screams or feels very very much like the Roadster setup. Ion
yes,
chimed in here. He said 1991, and
yes.
then Randall Thompson chimed in. He said four colors available. I guess he did
Four
his
colors.
research. But yeah,
Thank you, thank you.
he goes, yeah, he goes. Obviously, this is the power plant, which is the S2000 motor. But I mean, just the way they laid everything out with the suspension,
Oh yeah.
and the amount of detail that was put into it, regardless of the power plant or not, is just something to give the nod of approval, in my opinion. But yeah,
Again,
but
yeah,
but
I
right
do.
there,
Oh man, again, you look, it's impressive build. Again, just this was the first time I really connected the dots with the Fair Lady Roadsters, of the '60s there, especially the headlights. You've got
yeah.
those classic sealed beam moon eyes front end. The
Mhm.
suspension is not stock. Look at this thing. I
No,
mean, it's
not one
custom.
whatsoever. Yeah, this is all meant for road uphill running and whatever else this thing's going to be thrown into. I mean, this is going to be insane. But
Yep.
I think this is going to be a beast, and we'll try to keep an eye out for it as we see it around
Yeah.
through social media. But yeah, it just kind of caught us, and we thought you folks might get a kick out of it. So
Yep.
kudos.
Now, fun fact about this car, Miles. It was mentioned in this article that when it comes to the Nissan Figaro, Nissan only intended to make 8,000 units. But there was such an overwhelming demand for this vehicle that they made an extra 12,000 more. So there's
Uh,
20,000 of these Figaros that were produced, and those extra 12,000 were sold through a lottery system. So it gives me the impression that even an additional 12,000 more was still not enough. They had to go through a lottery system to sort of
I could
have
see
some
that.
sort of fairness in their
There,
sales.
we here in the United States don't see a lot of it, but in other like European countries, in Japan and Asian markets, there is a lot of love for like inner city cars. And what I mean by that is like city, small, tiny commuter based cars, and the Figaro kind of falls into that, just much like the Micra does, and other small vehicles like that just have a lot of following and a lot of purchasability. And I just think that the Figaro was one of those cars, and it makes sense that it was the right car for the right time, which is why they had something where they had to sell 23,000 units. I mean, the math on that's what, an extra, 14,000 units or something more than they ever anticipated, something like that.
It's
So
huge. Yeah, an extra
yeah,
12,000. I mean,
yeah, it's
that's more.
crazy.
That's over 100% more than their intentional plans.
Yeah,
I mean, it's glass because of the overwhelming demand. It seemed obviously that the extra production they put into this vehicle was a safe decision. They know they would sell. I mean, this is, and
yeah.
you gotta think about it. This story is 30 years old, over 30 years old. This car is over 30 years old. The fact that they had this type of demand,
And it doesn't look
that's a
like
nice picture right
to
there.
me. It
Yeah,
doesn't look like a car from the 90s at all. I mean, it
it
still
doesn't.
looks like it would be late 2000, early 2000s, even to the mids. It just has that
Yeah.
look about it. But
I
here
think that
we
has
are.
a lot to do with the craftsmanship, the guy who actually put this together too. I mean, this
Yeah.
the two tone again in this color scheme, the red with the black top. It reminds me of the Roadster with the hard top that's on it.
Yeah,
The,
very much so. And
the
then I couldn't agree more, quite
the
honestly.
the
So
amount of custom parts on this thing. Also, I started thinking about it. Let's just go ahead and go full circle on this and compare it. If this was like the new Z, if there was such an overwhelming demand for this car in stock form in the early '90s, and there was a lottery system, What kind of MSRP markups do you think this thing would have
Oh man,
had?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, to me, you're kind of following. I mean, what it's you have to think about. Okay, what's it competing against, and that's the first thing. I mean, to me, it kind of falls into the line with like Mini Coopers, but
Yeah.
Coopers are kind of bastardized right now. I mean, they're practically. I mean, they've stretched
Oh.
them out. They've SUV'd them. They've convertible. I mean, they've taken a design and just done about every weird thing that you would want.
Hmm.
Beetles. I mean, it's kind of following into that same market of like Volkswagen Beetles and the Fiat,
Yeah.
the 500. It kind of goes against that. I wouldn't even throw
Ah.
it in the ring with a smart car,
Well,
but
you
I
couldn't. I
mean,
mean,
but
91. I mean, none of that was out. You know.
yeah. So I'd
So
say
yeah.
you'd be reaching in the neighborhood of the 30s. For
Yeah.
something like that, so it's hard to say right now.
It's a lot.
Everything's all over the damn place with pricing, and I mean, it's hard to say with markup and the
Yep.
way the world is right now. It's until things settle down, we won't know what's going on with anything for pricing. But
Good
very
point.
cool card, needless to say. Moving forward, you also wanted to have a bit of a back alley chat here tonight, didn't you?
Well, I
Um,
did. Well, I wanted you to kind of spend some time, and you came up with a really good topic, and we'll get into it. But it's been a while. I mean, not only has it been a 6 week break, but
we haven't done a back alley chat
we
in a
haven't
hot
done
minute, yeah.
a true back alley chat. So that was really the
But
idea.
with
Yeah.
a back alley chat, we let's just dive right into it. So, we were kind of just spitballing and talking about things that we wanted to kind of talk about, or what we would basically be talking about in a parking lot at 10 o'clock at night when we should probably be home doing something more productive. But we're passionate, and that's what this is all about. That's exactly what Back Alley Chat's all about. So, we started getting into talking about like this whole JDM engine. Swapping that people were kind of doing, and what prompted me this is an article that we actually listed on our Facebook page that came in from Moto IQ, where it was talking about um, the the greatness, nothing short of, for the KA 24
Okay.
DE, which was actually one hell of an engine, and of course, the Nissan guru, Mr. Mike Kojima. I'll give a
Hmm.
little sign of the cross just to for the for the God that he is. But thanks to Mr. Mike Kojima for everything he does with the Moto IQ. It's my Bible page. It's like I absolutely love it. But he was talking about the KA 24 and how it's just a very underrated motor, and he talked about the development through all the years that it went through, coming out of the design came out of the UK market, in the European cars, and then Nissan basically went and developed it, and then just kept developing it and kept developing it until what we got, which was the KA 24 DE, and then people would didn't love the KA 24 because everybody had to have the SR20 because they wanted the turbo version of it. But the reality is the
Hmm.
KA 24 is such an unbelievable engine. And I've always kind of said the same thing. I've never
Yeah.
really fallen into the SR20 market just because the pricing kind of got out of the drift taxes, if you will, kind
Yeah.
of got crazy, and it just
Oh.
made the engine unattainable. And then and the Ka 24s were just such a for a while they were kind of throwaway engines. Nobody really wanted them. I remember I got a call one time and a guy said, "Hey, I've got four Ka 24s that are recently just rebuilt that we used for consumer testing, which was basically they were doing testing for like Popular Mechanics, and they were testing fuel, and these were their platform engines that they were using to test like fuel additives
Yeah.
for that." And I got the call, and it was like, "Yeah, you can have each one of these engines for like $200." And I'm like, "What the hell am I going to do with 4K 24 engines?" Of course, I wish in hindsight I wish I would have kept them, but the reality was, so what is the whole purpose of chasing this now SR20 DET for, let's call it $5,000, and then you still have to do the swap, which is another $6,000 or $7,000, all that to do to get that engine in there? Did that engine actually add value, or did it take away? Are
Yeah,
you winning in cool factor, or are you
yeah.
winning in actually adding value back to the car? We'll just take the S13.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah,
We'll take
what
we'll
vehicle?
take an
Factory
S13
form,
platform. We'll
because the
take it,
SR20.
which
Yeah.
is where where it really kind of um, became popularized. We'll say it at that. So we'll say
Okay.
your S13 hatchback. We'll take this back 15 years when everything was still attainable, or we'll take it back 10 years when it was still attainable to get an SR20 shipped. We'll say even the front clip, right? Because back then they were still
Mm-hmm.
chopping clips before idiots were trying to weld on front clips because they were lazy. So you get it all done. Now, did this actually add value to the car? Or did it actually was it just something very, very cool to do?
And
Uh,
I'm
it,
assuming
it,
you're asking me. That's my opinion on
yeah,
this,
I'm
right?
asking your
So,
opinion. Yeah.
so at a bar minimum, my thing is always just make sure the car drives. So for that
Yeah.
reason, just the fact that you can drive a car, that puts a tally mark in my opinion on the KA, because you know what, regardless of whether engine it is, as long as it ran, it has to run, right? And the KA was obviously the cheaper option. So it definitely had to do with a coolness factor. JDM. This car, this engine was not available in the U.S. as a turbocharged model.
Nope.
You had the non-turbo versions, which were the 200 SX, the G20, maybe a few others, but those were the non-turbo versions. So if you wanted a factory turbo version, most likely they came from Japan on a boat, like I said, as a clip or on a pallet or something like that. So when you here in the U.S. Uh, 10, 15 years ago popped the hood and you saw an SR20, yes, there is definitely a coolness factor to it.
I would agree with you. Going back that time period, because you knew that it was a pain in the tail to get. It wasn't really a pain, but it was just you had to go to the right spot to get the right engine, or you had to contact a JDM importer and say, I really want this engine, and they finally give you what you're asking for, and then you still had to spend the time and do the swap and get everything
Hmm.
right, and then still getting import stuff at that time was a pain.
Yeah.
So it was the
Yeah.
uniqueness, I think,
Yeah.
at that time. So when you pop the hood, and it's true, like you pop the
Pop
hood
the
and
hood.
pop the hood, and you would pop the
Yeah.
hood, and then you would see this SR20 in there. It was like, and you knew that it would make power. Of course, this is before the power the valve train decided to just escape through any type of real power that was put
Yeah.
into it. High boost, but needless to say, I mean, it would definitely had a cool factor aspect to it. But
Yeah.
back then, I don't think it really added value. You could rock the K24s,
I
and I don't
yeah.
know. Yeah,
In terms of value, okay, now here's the thing. It's then versus now, and I'll tell you what the line in the sand is between then and now. Then, let's say, 10, 15 years ago, like you said, uh, seeing an SR20 a two S13 240 SX, yes, you agree that yes, someone put in the wrench time. You know what I mean? They put that engine in there. Most likely, they had the transmission to go with it, which hopefully you got the 6 speed that goes with it. That was always my favorite.
yeah,
But um, the first thought that I get back then of a guy who put that engine in the car is he's gonna rag the hell out of it. It's got some sort of application or some purpose, and in this case, might be drifting, racing. Essentially, that engine's been through some hell. Let's just say that.
yeah,
Now, the line in the sand to me is 25-year rule, when the 240 SXs were able to be shipped from Japan, complete, drivable, and it was a legitimate JDM car. Because if you get one of those cars now, it's a factory car, matching numbers or however you want to say it. That has some value because it's all factory. It was not a swap. It's
yeah. And I'd agree with you. And it's like, going back that time period, it's like I think that's the only thing that added value to the cars back then. When you had the SR20 and a 240, it was like, wow, that car's worth it, because you could literally go shopping out of California and be like, hey, I don't want to pay for that SR20. I don't even want to pay for the RB or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But back then, when everything was still attainable and the drift tax wasn't ridiculous, you could literally go to California, spend 7 grand, and come back with an SR, a 240 that already had the SR swap, and literally
Yeah.
drive that car back because it was just well done and properly processed usually. But I think what's happening now is the the lack of good examples of the vehicles are
Yeah.
so few and far between that now the pricing on the cars that are almost stock trim are crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
and I'll give you an example. Like you find an S14 just unchopped, no sunroof, just stock with a K24, and it's just been well maintained, even at 100,000 miles. The pricing on those is through the roof right now. If you have the SR, it almost drives down the price a little bit, in my opinion, because
It's been
because
touched. It's
because it's been touched at this point. It's like you're almost needing to go back to trying to find good
that's
examples of the cars, like the 350Z market right now.
yeah.
Like,
It
you want a 350Z that is almost untouched, like almost closest to stock that you can, because
yeah.
it hasn't been bastardized and changed. And I think that's just we. It's like it's sad to say we're almost victims of our own of our own bad choices.
Yeah.
Um, you
And
know, um, yeah.
yeah,
So
I think something that kind of what you had said, what I think about is the type of buyer for the we've grown, we've matured. Even though we love cars, we always have since the beginning. Our tastes have matured, and it sounds like
maybe.
us has been we are the again the pristine example because we know they're hard to find.
I,
If
I also think that, like, and I'll give you an example. Like, we were those kids that that are grew up in that time period. We believe it or not, we were in the prime of being able to pick up those cars,
the
whether we
golden
did or
age,
not.
yeah,
The
yeah,
golden
yeah,
age. And now you have kids now like, man, I really want a 240, and it's like it's crazy that we're like, yeah, you better save your money because that's 15, $20,000.
yes.
It's
Well,
nuts to think that we would be like that, because in my day, you know,
that's
bubble
you know
gum only costed a penny.
a
Just
lot of
like
old. I'm sure a
yeah,
lot of Plymouth and Mopar guys are laughing at us right
yeah,
now because
yeah,
this happened to them 20 years before
yeah,
us.
and
You know.
yeah, and examples, and I'm sure there's like this is just, and I don't think it's necessarily like something that happens specifically to a car so much as this is just the evolution of vehicles as they kind of come around. They go through that realm where they go through that time period where they're just kind of bastardized, hoard out, chopped up, and then all of a sudden, there's fewer examples out there, and trying to find a good examples, you're going to spend a little bit more, and then next thing you know, the dollar value on these things is through the roof. And unless it's something crazy that just takes a really long time to be valuable, like Volkswagen Beetles for the longest time. You could pick those up forever. Up
Hmm.
until recently, now they're starting to have a lot of value on them. But then again, they sold 4 bajillion of them on the planet. But now the examples are rusting out. They're not being readily available. So the value is starting to mark it up. But when you
Yeah.
have limited numbers, like the 240 sold well, but it wasn't all that available, for the
Hmm.
longest time period. But when you sold it in other markets, I think it just trickled on here. And now we're starting to get through all the examples of good vehicles that are available. And so does an SR20. Getting back to center,
Yeah.
does an SR20 swapped S13 have more
Yeah.
value than, say, a K24 stock engine that just was never bastardized? Now,
Is the condition of the chassis the same?
same
Like the
same car, same car,
tasteful.
both side to side. It's just one was SR20 was reasonably put together, or the K24? Which one's going to have more value?
Honestly, if the chassis is the same and the engines were just the only thing that was different,
Mhm.
I want to say the SR20 still because
Okay, which one's
yeah,
cooler?
which one's
SR20,
cooler? You know, it's
SR20. That's
first
yeah.
response is SR20. However, it's I've always
This is such a
I've
weird
always
topic
been
because
no, no, no,
we're
yeah,
we're all over the place right now.
yes,
We're
yes, yes,
literally just we're talking out of sides of our mouths half the time. And then the
yeah.
other
Well, this
thing
is what
too is
back
like
alley chat is supposed to be.
this
This
is
is
what
what,
back alley's like.
yeah, yeah,
There's never a right answer, and it's just there's never anything that can be proved.
yeah.
You know, it's like
I'm the type of person who will like something because not everybody likes it. I guess that's what a hipster is. I don't know.
I do.
I
You
I
know,
don't know if I'm hip.
I will
I hate
say
that
though
word.
that I've always liked the K24, but people always
Yeah,
pooped on it because it was like
yeah.
it's a truck
I
engine.
like.
I'm
There you go.
like,
I like underdogs. How about that? The
and I do
KA to
like
me is an
underdogs. Yeah,
underdog.
yeah,
And so for that reason, I do like it still. I'm not saying it's bad, but if you're asking me from a dollar value, if the chassis are the same and the conditions and
yeah.
the install was tasteful,
Mm.
then it's going to be SR20 still.
All right, so let's take some comments. We've got a few things
Ooh.
here. Orlando Nunez, probably cool factor is see here. Just mentioning SR20 makes guys um, hard. I will leave it at that.
uh,
And he goes,
well,
but
yeah,
he goes, but it does add value in this crazy market. And I kind of agree. It's like just it's the craziness of the time,
yeah,
and people were just like so eager to get one that they'll pay through the nose. I mean, I had my own car, and some guy ran me off the road, and he paid me 3 times what it was worth, and this was 2003 or something. And I
yeah.
wish I would have held on to it because it was just, I didn't realize that I could have got another
He
3 times what I paid for it at that
he,
time. It's
right.
insane.
Now, you mentioned something earlier, Miles, and I wanted to pick up on it just a little bit. You mentioned there for a second RB as well. So you got to remember, 240SXs had RB. People were doing RB
Oh,
swaps as
baby, I'm
well.
going to give you more than that. CA18DET,
Ooh,
baby.
old school. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the little baby Skyline engine. I mean, that thing was badass. Harold Wickman dropped it in, and he goes, CA18DET SR20 sounds like a wet fart. And I would
Ooh,
say, I was like, that's pretty ballsy, Harold. But yes,
that's line
I
draw.
would
Yeah,
say that the CA18DET, believe it or not, is actually one of my favorite engines. I
yeah.
just can never get my hands on one. I
Talk
almost
about
had
rare.
one.
They've been rare, probably more so than the
Yeah,
SR20,
and honestly, I
in my
always wanted to take
experience.
one of those and throw them into this bad boy behind me, one of these Datsun
Mm.
620s. I think it's the coolest thing you could possibly do, but I can't freaking find one to save my
Yeah.
life.
It's
Here we are.
period. Another factor, and then we didn't talk about this as part of the consideration. And both engines are the same though, but period correctness. Uh,
Ooh, yeah, good point.
KA and SR were still the same period, so it really wasn't a much of a topic. But when it comes to swaps, I like period correctness.
Yeah,
I think
I
that's
think
that
if you get into
mature.
a CA18 DT and a 240 and you pop the hood, people are like, "What the? What is it?
Yeah,
It looks like is that an RB26? RB25?" Like they don't
yeah, yeah.
know. Like it's sad
It's
to say, but
lesser known
it's
of
a
the
lesser known
engines.
brother. But to
Yeah,
me, that's the highest cool factor that you can possibly get. But
yeah.
um,
Uh,
and Brad's asking us, so
I
what's going to be the next golden age car to buy?
I'm glad. I'm glad you mentioned this, Brad, because that's a whole nother. Is this back alley chat
That's a
part
whole
two?
other back alley chat, and I'll just tell you right
Can
now,
yeah.
it's gonna be. It was the 350Z car, but there are none left.
Mm.
I'm gonna say, in my opinion, I think it's right now. I think
Right
it's the
now, that's
for
exactly what I was
Nissan
thinking.
Nissan based. I think
Any,
it's the 300ZX, either the non-turbo, or the twin, any of the 300ZX models. I think the 280ZX is the car that's coming up, and I hate to say it, it's finally its time around, and the Z31s. The 300ZX, yes, but there was way more models. I just think the Z31 is just one of those cars that were left for dead for the longest time, and there's
yeah.
no good examples left of those things
I
anymore. So
I agree with you that the 280ZX is making somewhat of a steep coolness jump.
yeah,
A lot of companies like Skillard, our friends there, are making some really good mods that really
yeah.
pick up the taste. I mean, the coolness of it. I
Mhm.
agree. Now, honestly, what I was gonna say was the golden age car um, is cars that are being built right now. And
I kind of feel like the 50s and the 60s, the
yeah,
Q50s and the 60s are going to be like the new G35s and 350Zs.
well,
Because I mean, what you get, you get a hell of a lot of car for the money
yeah,
when they drop in price
yeah,
or they stop making these things.
yeah.
I think
Well,
so.
well, here's my thing: is that even the Z that's out right now, this is, or and no matter what car it is, I mean, no matter again, uh, Challengers, Chargers, Camaros, Mustangs, whatever it is, in terms of sports cars, gasoline powered sports cars, this is somewhat of the last hurrah for many of those models.
Mm.
So if you own one of the last gas powered sports cars, it's going to be probably the best example, the best technology is being applied to it. It's probably stopped already. They've
Yeah,
already built,
yeah,
it's not going to get any better because
yeah.
we
The
know what the next
innovation,
leap is EV.
the innovation options, and putting money into the development for new engines.
Yeah,
It's happened in the last year or two. I want to say it all happened kind of really as a whisper when COVID was happening.
yeah,
The reality is when COVID hit, it changed everything, and I think it sped up the clock for a lot of things that were happening because these manufacturers are like, the change is here. We need to get up to speed on it. Nissan was ahead of that curve just through circumstance,
yeah.
but the reality is all these other companies are biting onto that now, and this EV muscle is going to be the new thing. I really think we're on the precipice
The
of
precipice.
the power EV that's coming out. You're starting
Yeah,
to have these trucks that are chasing power now. You have these muscle cars that are coming out with this what is that, the EV Hellcat or whatever that came out. That's a
yeah.
hell of a vehicle. But
The the
we're gonna get off track here,
yeah,
but
yeah.
and of course leave it to Brad to derail us. But
That's
yeah,
he
but it was
said
a
a
hell of a
yeah.
it's a hell of a good question. So
That's a
yeah.
great question. Maybe we should make. Hey, well, if you don't think we've covered it all, maybe we should make that a
There's
future
no way we're
back
going to
alley
cover
shot.
this all. We
Yeah,
could talk till
yeah.
midnight and then we'll be doing this. But
Can't.
we
Yeah,
still got more show to kind of go
we
through. But
do. We
yes,
do.
great comments. You
Thanks,
see
guys.
here. Yeah, we're going to step out of this one because it's just getting a little too crazy. But Brad on the last thing says that was the inspiration for buying one of the last 370Zs. And you might be right, dude. That could
Yeah,
be it too. And I
yeah.
would say you might be onto something.
That's some
But
deep questions, man. Yeah, you
th-
definitely. Yeah.
thanks, Brad, for dropping some deep knowledge on us tonight. So kudos. Your MVP. Let's
Yeah.
see here for events. We do got to cover a little bit of events as we kind of lean towards the door here,
Yep.
getting to be a long of a show. But Mike, you actually covered an event here, and we'll give you a little bit more time. But this was a shout out for the Fair Lady Roadster Club event. And you wanted to give them a special shout out because of just what they accomplished.
I do. I do. So this came to me after the fact. I wasn't too familiar with it until after this event happened. Hey, it's been 6 weeks and we wouldn't have had much chance anyway. But I am so impressed by this, and I'll share this video in just a second. Let me just say, um, the oldest. Well, even when it comes to the vehicles I have personally, I've got the 79 Datsun 620. I've got the 91 300 ZX. The odds of me finding somebody with the same vehicle, the same generation of vehicle, that's running, that you can hang out with or go cruise together on a car that's over 25 years old, it gets harder. Every year that car gets older, the harder and harder it gets to find a certain number of people to kind of cruise with and have fun with that same vehicle. What I want to showcase here is, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen on this, is a Fair Lady Roadster group. I believe they were out of the Oregon area. They had what they called the 2022 Shed Barbecue Datsun Roadster Run. And I'm going to let this run in the background here. They had 46 Nissan Roadsters attend, drivable Roadsters go down the line here. This video is actually, how long is this video? This is just them running 2 minutes of these Roadsters just going down the road. And each of them, majority of them, look really, really great condition. They run. Um, you got to think about, are they all in the same state? Did they drive? How far did they drive to do this? I've always wanted to do this, for example, with Datsun 620s. If I can get 5 guys in South Texas to do this, I would be so happy. If I could get 46 of the same model, it's a legendary thing, in my opinion. I just want to give this whoever organized this, I want to give them props for it. I'm sure there's a lot of stories that actually took place into making this happen. Uh, and just look at that line. It's just so cool to see, man. So I just want to give a shout out to these guys. Again,
Yeah,
the
that's
Shed
actually really
Barbecue
cool to
guys are
watch and so. But yeah, I mean, if you hear us right now, or if you know anybody that kind of put that together, just give them a thumbs up from us. Keep the show going. We love to watch stuff like this. So yeah. Or if anybody knows anybody who ran the event, let us know. We'd love to kind of do an interview about the event, just kind of talking about it,
really.
how it created, how it got created, and then of course, what are the plans for the future. So let us know.
This was so
Um,
cool. Yeah.
yeah. So kudos, Mike, for finding that, and then of course, giving them the thumbs up. We're
Yeah.
gonna just run through the last bit of the events and start making our way again towards the door.
Go for it.
We're just gonna do a recap, and I think we'll probably save a lot of this for the next episode. But the 35th annual Z convention just finished out in Birmingham, Alabama. For those that went, it looked like a great event. Me and Mike watched it through pictures. And then it was hosted by the Group Z Sports Club. Or My apologies. It was hosted by the
Iron City
Iron City
Z Club.
group,
Yep.
and they apparently it turned out to be a great event. So we had them on last time, Chris
We did.
Carl, and of course the folks on
Bobby.
the and Robbie to talk about the event last time. So again, kudos. You can go and check out the page from ZCon at the zcon.org if you want to see what happened with last year's event. The next Z convention will actually be hosted by the Group Z Sports Car Club, July
There it
31st and
is.
August 5th. There, Mike has actually done that for us, and this
Their
is going to be
flyer. Yep.
in Ontario, California this upcoming year. So in 2023. So if you get an opportunity
Yep.
to start making your plans for that, do it. I think me and Mike are looking to probably hit this convention this year. We're just spacing out from time to time if we can.
Yes.
So and then we're also trying to make an event or two of the smaller things, so we can
Yeah.
just make sure we're spreading ourselves out as we go through the
Yeah.
years.
This
So,
is yeah. This is Southern California, just an hour outside of Los Angeles. For anybody who's curious, now there is actually a really great track, Willow Springs, which is the track day, and of course we've got autocross, judge car show, group drives, speaker night, many favorites that are a signature of ZCon, also happening here in Ontario, California. Though again
yeah,
next year, July 21st, July
yep,
31st to August 5th. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. Uh, the registration is not open yet. We would imagine that happening probably uh, within the last 2 months of this year, and or at the very latest, probably 1st of January.
okay.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
we did want to give a shout out on the calendar to the upcoming Midwest Z Heritage event that's going to be happening here September 8th through the 11th. It's actually going to be based out of Chicago, Illinois, with a host hotel of Eaglewood Resort and Spa. This will be hosted by the Wind City Z Club. They've been doing the same event for the past 2 decades. If you want to find out a little bit more about that event, you can check out the MidwestZHeritage.com page for more information on that.
Cool. 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 Uh, this next one here, I can go ahead and share a screen on this one as well. We're talking about this next event happening here September 10th, which is about a week and a half from now.
Mhm.
The 17th annual Japanese Classic Car Show, otherwise known as JCCS, happening in Long Beach, the Marina Green Park. Uh, this is always this is one of these events. You mentioned I shouldn't even say it's a small event. It's a short event, maybe a day or two, but it
Mhm.
is a a massive event in terms of the quality of cars that attend, the number of sponsors, vendors, other attractions there in Long Beach during that weekend. Um, it's one that we definitely need to make plans for. We've been saying this. Perhaps in 23 we can knock that.
Yeah, yeah, I know. We talked about making this year, but I think the plan for is going to be for next year. I think we're going to make a strong commitment for making it out to JCCS for next year if we can all do that. So, but again, if you have the means or if you're in the area, I would recommend not missing this event. Again,
Yeah.
this is going to be September 10th. You can check out more information about it at JapaneseClassicCarshow.com. The
Yes,
last
yes,
thing we want to
yes.
cover here today was the 17th annual Z Nationals. And Mike, I'll let you talk a little bit about this because you were a former employee.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Z Nationals, 17th annual. Talk about an event that has had a long tenure, especially on the eastern part of the country. Hosted by Z1 Motorsports. This is happening October 21st and 22nd in the Atlanta area. Typical Z Nationals events, and this year is no exception. Track day and car show. First day is a track day. This year is happening at the Atlanta Motorsports Park. That's just north of Atlanta, I believe. And then the second day is actually a car show at the Z1 headquarters, one of the freshly renovated Z1 headquarters. For this registration is active. If you go to znationals.com, you can register online for either the track day and or the show day. Um, on that weekend. Again, that's happening October 21st and 22nd. Um, now, again, like we say with every event that includes a track day, if you are interested in that track day, that's the first thing you need to sign up for as soon as possible because that's the first thing that typically sells out. So I definitely encourage you guys who are interested to check this out. znationals.com. You can check that out. Um, and to let anybody know, we again these events, just like every episode, we try our best to find events happening across the country here, even overseas, and typically on a grassroots level of some sort. And if you know one in your area that you would like for us to help share and promote, you can go ahead and contact us. Again, through online or other social medias. Our email is info@nissannerd.com. Let us know about your events, what kind of team you've got going on involved. Maybe if you need some help with sponsorship. We've got some. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, kind of like what we did for Branson, man. We can always throw out a few stickers along the way to help support events along the way, so we could help do that for you. So, if you are an organizer, feel free to shout out. Come talk to us.
Very cool.
Yeah.
See here. And let me see here. And somebody commented here that Harold throw out hump days. So if you got an event that's called hump days, let us know, and we'll definitely talk about it. I'm sure there is, but yeah, if you've got an event that's
Well,
up and coming, let us know. Is there hump days, or is he
I
just throwing something at me? Is that
well when I
Harold?
think I don't know of hump days, but when I think of Harold, I always think of Branson because that's when I think one of the first times I met him. So Branson Pumpkin Spice Edition is actually happening. I
Yeah.
want to say it's next month as well. So yeah, we need to promote that. I wonder if I do this real quick here. I'm sorry. The bransonzfest.org. This is a free event. Typically, it's meant to be. It's if you thought Branson was relaxed, this is even more relaxed. Countdown. They're saying here. Let's
Yeah,
see.
October 6th through October 8th through for the pumpkin spice. Yeah.
37 days away. Yep, that's the
Yep.
one. So that's
And actually, it looks like a heck of an event because it just
oh.
Branson's already relaxed. So apparently, from what we are told, it's like even more relaxed. So I'm just like, and that to me is a huge selling
They
point.
don't
So
even wear clothes. That's how
whoa,
relaxed they are.
is that what we're selling? We're selling the
It's
nudity. Is that what
yeah.
Lyman's selling right
Full
now?
frontal hardcore nudity pumpkin spice Branson Z Fest.
Full frontal Lyman. All right,
That's how relaxed they are.
that's how relaxed we are at Pumpkin Spice.
We were
But
kidding, of
again,
course,
for
but yeah.
those that don't know, Branson is becoming a huge
Well, it
up and
has
coming
been.
event,
Yes,
and it
it's
has been
yeah,
actually. I
yeah.
mean, there we had a blast this last event, and we unfortunately aren't going to be able to make the pumpkin spice this year, but it's going to be definitely on our radar for Branson for next year. So I think we're going to wind up going to that again. So we had a blast. We just won't be trying to do the major engine swaps. I think we're gonna do something like we'll probably do like a badge swap or something. I don't know.
Badge,
Just
oil change.
we'll do
Yeah,
an
something
oil
like that.
change in the
Yeah,
parking lot. It's like the max. We're gonna
the
be
max.
maybe I don't know. Maybe we'll get a little crazy and commit to something a little next year. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's pretty much the event in a bag. Actually, Orlando was nice enough to send me a video of Mr. Tom Cruise in one of the Red Bull
Oh,
F1 vehicles. If
yeah.
you want to give me the steering wheel, we'll run that
Steering
in the
wheel.
background as we finish up and wrap up. So,
Sure, 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 sure.
but
Soon as it registers, let's go for it. There you go.
all right, there we go. So yeah, we'll run that in the background as we kind of wrap up the night. But yeah, thanks again for everybody for kind of coming on the show. Again, if you have events that are happening in your area, please let us know because or there's news that we need to know about that's happening in the community, or there's maybe a special interest story that you would like us to know about. No story too small or too big. That's what we're here for. We're here to support the community. On that note, support us by
Yeah.
liking, sharing, and subscribing to all of our pages. If you need to contact us, you contact us at info at nissannerd.com.
Yeah.
And before we let everybody go,
Yes.
we did want to give a bit of a shout out just
Yeah.
within the community. Kevin and Kelsey Steffen, who I think might still be on with us if they haven't gone past their bedtime just yet, actually visited us here in San Antonio recently.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mike, did you save any of the photos from that
I
event?
did. I did. I'll share my screen
Um,
on this one. Yes.
and I'll go ahead and yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Kevin and Kelsey, I think they contacted you.
Yeah.
They were celebrating. Well, so first of all, we met them at Branson Z Fest.
Hmm.
Had a great time with them, and then they just coincidentally decided to visit San Antonio as part of their 1 year anniversary, their first wedding anniversary, and gave you a
Congrats.
shout. Yeah, so we had a night. We again these some pictures here in front of the Alamo. There they are, and we had a great time. We were able to jump on some birds. We probably, dude, I probably put about $50 into birds. Have you checked your statement yet? We put some money on those birds, dude. We went,
I put some cash on the birds. It's no big deal.
yeah,
We had a good
yeah. No,
time,
it was
but
fun. I'm not complaining, but like I was actually surprised how many miles or how much time we put
we
onto
were
those
on
things.
those things for a number of good hours. Yeah, I mean, we had a blast. If you think about it. So, but we jumped on a bunch of birds and we just really had a blast. I mean, that's
Yeah,
all.
great time. Great
Yeah,
time.
and we went out for some drinks and got in some trouble, and then yeah, and we'll keep a lot of this, PG. But thanks again to them for showing up. I did
Yeah.
want to share
Yep.
um one more thing. If I
Before you do, I was gonna say, d- should we advertise this as being a Nissan Nerd package? So if anybody comes into town, we're obligated to go out and party with
We
them,
are.
or
Yeah, I think if you come into town, if you took the initiative to come to San Antonio, we will be forced to
be
take you out
forced.
around the town as ambassadors of the good city of San
Now
Antonio.
there are
So yeah.
stipulations. You must live outside the state. I'm just kidding, but
You can't, yeah, you can't. Don't say you're like live outside of San Antonio and coming in like
this
Austin, like
is this
Ion or
is
somebody.
the
Yeah,
Nissan
you
Nerd
you you literally
concierge.
have to be. Yeah, you can't be. You have to be foreign to Texas. And if you come into town, let us know, and we'll take you out for some treats and probably get you in some trouble, maybe injure you just a little bit, but we'll
Just
have
a little
some
bit.
fun. And we'll definitely change you. Give me the steering wheel, Mike. So
Sure.
look how nice and cute this couple is. And then, of course, after they left, they got a little bit of San Antonio in them. They got a little ghetto, so they got a little thugged out. So yeah, but no, kudos to them for coming out and spending some time with us. And we had a great time. We'd love to have you back, and I wish you guys another year of happy marriage. And
Yes.
yeah, and congratulations.
Go for it.
So
Awesome. Awesome. Oh man, I got one more for you, Miles. Again, this is just one more shout out for the community. I should say I had made a phone call, and it just so happened I spoke with Mad Mike, and he had explained that he had actually celebrated his 80th birthday last week. So I want to say happy belated birthday, Mad Mike Taylor. For those who don't know who he is, if you drive a 350Z, he's probably the reason that the 350Z or the Z in general came back after the Z32 was discontinued. very much involved in that. He was actually the ZCCA founder, you would say, and the first executive director. Very much the reason, Miles, the reason why me and you are here was probably very much influenced by uh, the actions of this guy. So the Godfather, if you will.
Yeah, I would agree. Mad Mike was very. I would say we probably wouldn't have a community that we appreciate today without his actions. So when you do see him around, a little
Yeah,
note, we appreciate all
yeah.
his efforts over the many years. And
Uh,
yeah, I mean, I've had such a great time talking to him over the years, and he's definitely a face.
yeah, a character
He's
for sure.
definitely the face of
Uh,
the ZCCA. So, yeah.
yeah, yeah, this was a fun picture I found of him with Mr. K. Obviously, he was a big fan, big friend, a close friend, I would say, with Mr. K. You could see just the friendship that they shared. So I thought it was a very good picture to share with you guys. I did let him know. I asked him. I go, Mad Mike, is it okay
Yeah, I've got.
if we share this? Uh huh. You
Mhm,
there?
go ahead.
Anyway, he said. He goes, yeah, yeah,
I
you
am.
can go ahead and share. He goes, I accept cash. Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, Mad Mike's just got a ton of stories, and we've been meaning to kind of get him on for an interview for some time, but we'll see if we can make that happen one of these days.
yeah.
So, but actually, I wanted to share one more photo, and then we'll
Ooh,
call it a night.
we have
Let me
to.
see here.
Yeah.
Now, this is actually one of my favorite photos that I took liberties with for Mr. Mad Mike when I
You
presented him
took liberties. That's a first.
with a
I'm not
lifetime
sure.
achievement award. Where we gave it
Okay.
to him at Nismo Fiesta many years ago, and it's one of my favorite renderings.
Oh, oh man.
Um, yeah, so kudos to him. Happy birthday to Mr. Mad Mike
Is
Taylor.
there a few more there? There,
Oh yeah, there's a couple.
skiing. There's always one there that's the one I like. That's a great one. That one almost looks
This
original.
one,
Look at that. Look at
yeah,
that
no, this is
smile,
great.
man. Yes.
So
That's
anyway,
always awesome.
on that note, a kudos to Mr. Mad Mike for
Yep.
all he's done for the community, and will continue to do as long as blood pulses through him. For
To
sure, he's
us.
got the
Yeah.
passion. Yeah. But I'll let you folks. We're on that note. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the night. I want to thank everybody for joining us again. And we'll do a little compi if we
Let's do it,
could.
man. Yes, again, guys, Kampai, thank you for joining us. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate you being here. And for real this time, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
compi.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks. We'll see you. All right. Thank you again for everybody. See you in 2 weeks. Um, play the sound. Let's go. Let's get them out of here.
Do it.
Oh, it's time
Whoa.
to take it off.
God, dude. Hey,
Woo!
please. Dang,
What?
I thought I was pale.
Oh,
What are you doing?
stretch it. I'm going to bed. What are you doing?
You're like the dude. Am I getting me too'd right now? Is this like, hey, what's up? Like, whoa, 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 what's going on here? Oh, I'm just, just, what's the word?
Hmm.
Balls in your court, baby. You just like,
Forgot the clip. Forgot the clip. Oh,
oh, dude, what are you doing right now? Oh man,
okay. All right.
there goes our rating. There
It
goes our
goes our
rating.
rating. It's no longer PG. Anyway, you guys have a good night, and we'll see you next episode.
Goes my eyes,
My
my
eyes, it
eyes.
burns.
Everybody's
Burns.
hugging. It's just like what?
Oh. I'll bring it up here. All right. My eyes are up here. All right. Let's go.
My eyes are up here. Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
Good
All
night,
right,
guys. You
guys.
guys have a good day.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
All right, we'll see
See
ya.
ya. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.